Good Tuesday morning to you. 6 a.m. in the Mile High City this February 20th. Jeff Hunt and Bill Thorpe riding high on an article in Westward yesterday.
Yeah.
Thanks to our friend Michael Roberts.
I think I owe Mike some money. He treated us much better than we deserve.
That is very true.
I salute you, sir. Thank you, Mike. That was, it's a very nice write-up. You got to go check it out, Westward.
Honest, Westward and I being the like social conservative Mike Pence of Colorado, Westward and I don't always see eye to eye on things, but I've always found them to be fair. And I've never asked journalists to totally agree with me.
Yeah.
I've just asked them to be fair, to be honest. Right.
And that's all they really need
to like not make stuff up, which, some do.
Yeah, sometimes that's very, very hard. Yeah, I've always enjoyed a Westward because they lean sometimes into the unusual stories. And I believe we would qualify. I believe this show is really unusual compared to everything else going on in Denver. And I appreciate many times their just blatant honesty. There are times in which they're happy to tell you that your baby's ugly. And there have been so many really wonderful reporters that have worked their way through Westward and so many great things that I like that. I like the idea that they proudly declare themselves as the counterculture of the news. Yes, they absolutely lean to the libs. That's okay, as long as you know what you're getting when you open that paper. If you understand that's where they're coming from. But they don't preach. That's the thing. Well, sometimes they preach, but it's not as overt as you get.
Depends on how ugly your baby is.
Yeah, exactly.
Headline out of Westward: Jeff Hunt and Bill Thorpe on politics, faith, and the Taylor Swift tie to the new KNUS show.
Yeah.
Bill is the independent thinker, and I'm the rock-ribbed, MAGA-loving conservative, says Hunt. By Michael Roberts. That was in yesterday's Westward. We'll post that on our on my Twitter account at Jeff Hunt.
Yeah, and as Michael says, if you don't like the show, it's Taylor Swift's fault.
Yeah,
I agree with him. Blame Taylor, not us.
Taylor brought us together.
Yes, it is.
So thank you to Michael for covering that. Hey, we're going to cover a whole lot in this show today. In the 9 o'clock hour, we're going to talk with at-large council member, City of Aurora, Danielle Jurinsky, about the city of Aurora essentially prioritizing its citizens first or over illegal immigrants, and her vision there and what they plan to do. So you're going to want to stick around from that. We'll get into the COVID vaccine study. Big one came out yesterday, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. But first, the news with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning. Can't wait to read the article. Congratulations. 34 and partly cloudy in Denver, expecting highs in the low 60s. Another gorgeous day on the way. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story, a suspect in the UCCS shooting is headed to court in just hours. Colorado Springs Police Chief Adam Vasquez says the department is working to bring swift justice.
The best case, the tightest case that we possibly can. Murder cases like this, it really is very critical that we dot every I and cross every T and make sure that investigation is as tight as possible.
Police arrested 25-year-old student Nicholas Jordan from Detroit Monday morning, 3 miles from the University of Colorado, Colorado Springs. He's accused of opening fire inside a dorm Friday, killing 2 people. One victim is Samuel Knopp of Parker, also a student. The other is Seeley Montgomery of Pueblo. Police say that they all knew each other and confirmed this was not a random attack. Jordan's court appearance is set for 1:30 today, with more information expected to come this afternoon. President Biden says Republicans are walking away from America's obligations overseas.
The president spoke to reporters on the White House lawn before leaving for a trip.
The way they're walking away from the threat of Russia, the way they're walking away from NATO, the way they're walking away from meeting our obligations is just shocking. I've been for a while. I've never seen anything like this.
The comments come as the Republican-led House took a 2-week break without bringing legislation providing military aid to Ukraine and Israel to the floor for a vote. It also follows the death of Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny, who was an outspoken critic of Vladimir Putin. I'm Michael Kastner.
Conservatives saying this morning that our own border is being ignored once again, and also criticizing the Biden administration for turning their back on Israel and supporting Hamas, forcing a ceasefire. The Loveland ski area is sending condolences to the family of a woman who died Friday. Officials say it happened on a blue run called Double Dip. Ski Patrol quickly responded and found the woman unconscious. She was pronounced dead at the scene. Investigators believe she collided with a tree. One person is recovering after a fire at an abandoned hotel along Colfax in Denver on Monday. Crews arrived to the scene yesterday morning to see flames pouring out of the building's basement and first floor. And Kevin O'Leary of Shark Tank supporting former President Trump on Monday.
When you get a developer that builds a building and he says it's worth $400 million and he wants to borrow $200 million from a bank, which happens every day, everywhere on earth, including every American city, every developer is an entrepreneur. They shine the light on their building and they say it's worth 400. The bank does its own due diligence, as was done in this case, because they're very good at it. The banks are very good, and they say, no, it's worth 300. We're only going to loan you 150 million. That haggling has gone on for decades. That's how it works.
The onus is on the banks. They did what they needed to do. He did what he did. They were happy, and everything worked out well, except for what's going on with Trump in the courtroom. Will Byron takes the checkered flag at the Daytona 500 Monday. I think I said Indianapolis 500 like 4 times on Monday. Sorry about that. Avs play host to the Canucks tonight. Nuggets and the Wizards Thursday in Lodo. Rockies first full team workout today. CSU taking on New Mexico tomorrow night in a big college basketball game. 29 in Boulder, 31 in Littleton, 34 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue. Blake Olson News Talk 710 KNUS.
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Well, now there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts. Talk back to your favorite local hosts.
At the tone, leave a message.
Call the show. Set your alarm. Enter contests and win prizes. All in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today.
Saw this article in Fox yesterday. I wanted to talk with you about it, Bill. Get your sense on this.
Yeah.
Headline from Fox: largest ever COVID vaccine study links shot to small increases in heart and brain conditions. Researchers, oh boy, just lost the article. Researchers from the Global Vaccine Data Network analyzed data from 99 million vaccinated individuals. The largest COVID vaccine study to date has identified some risks associated with the shot. Researchers from the Global Vaccine Data Network in New Zealand analyzed 99 million people who received COVID vaccinations across 8 countries. They monitored for increases in 13 different medical conditions in the period after people received a COVID vaccine. The study, which was published in the journal Vaccine last week, found that the vaccine was linked to a slight increase in neurological, blood, and heart-related medical conditions, according to a press release from GVDN. People who received certain types of mRNA vaccines were found to have a higher risk of myocarditis, which is inflammation of the heart muscle. Some viral vector vaccines were linked to a higher risk of blood clots in the brain, as well as an increased likelihood of a syndrome, a neurological disorder in which the immune system attacks the nerves. I went back and tried to look at Anthony Fauci early on when they were first promoting the vaccination. This is what I found.
The adverse events are unusual and rare, as a matter of fact, and clearly the benefit of protecting yourself from COVID-19 far outweighs any risk of adverse events.
So, the promotion that, there might be a little risk there, but the risk of COVID is much greater. So therefore, get this shot. I never got the jab. I was always a little suspicious of it. And for us, we were young. We kind of felt like this was, and I've gotten COVID twice. And it was pretty nasty the first time I got it, but I never really kind of bought into it. The science behind it seemed to be kind of pushing the boundaries a little bit, that this thing wasn't as well tested as other vaccines. And I'm not an anti-vax guy in the sense of no vaccines, that type of thing. But I always had a hard time with this one. Just in my gut, I had a hard time with this one. Do you think we were given the full information? Do you think this thing was rushed?
Well, I think there are different answers to both of those questions. Yes, it was rushed, but we had Operation Warp Speed. And yes, when you bring something like this to market this quickly, there are going to be issues. And I'm sitting here trying to figure out why the audio for Anthony Fauci was so bad. That's the thing that's bothering me right now. I'm like, why was that so bad? I'm in the background right now. I'm trying to fix it so we can reload it. I'm doing some other stuff. We did rush it. But in the larger conversation, I think that what went on inside of COVID really, and I'm going to broaden the conversation a little bit more, is it really showed the problems with the anti-intellectualism bend that we as Americans have gone on. And really, I would say last 15 years, maybe last 20, we've started to not like the people in the ivory towers. We've started to not like the educational institutions. We've started to not like the people that have the knowledge. And this was COVID, and the COVID vaccine was a direct example of that. I have a hard time finding one that showed a better example of our flat out misunderstanding of scientific knowledge and how science works. I was shocked at how many people said, well, at the beginning, told me I don't need a mask. That means that's true forever. That's not how science works. If you've been paying attention, science has changed over the course of history. Just in our lifetimes, the knowledge we have about dinosaurs alone is vastly different than when we were children. That's what science does. It changes and evolves. And anybody who thought within the first 30 days that we would know everything about the COVID doesn't understand science. Anybody that thought after we took the genome apart that we would understand everything about COVID doesn't understand science. However, I put a lot of this on Fauci, but not in the way most people do. Fauci was a very ineffective communicator, phenomenally ineffective, because he didn't come out and say at the very beginning, guess what, guys? A lot of this is going to change. This is what we know now. And as we find out more about this virus, things are going to change. Nobody did that, either from the CDC or from the White House or involved in the conversations. And so we ran around and we were idiots.
I think that would be a fair critique if it was an honest intellectual review of the sciences. And this is where I want to hear from people. So give us a call, 303-696-1971. Or text us on the 710 KNUS app, 303-696-1971. I have so much emotion around this. I've got to think through and process this for a second.
Yeah, because this for me is very cold.
There was emotion. So much moralizing around COVID, right?
Yeah.
Like you were going to kill people if you walked down the wrong way down a supermarket aisle.
Yeah. Yep. And at times we brought home our groceries and we were wiping them all down.
Sprayed them with Clorox.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So it wasn't like this kind of like purely intellectual exercise of, well, the science is going to change and all this stuff. We kicked moms with 2-year-olds off airplanes because they couldn't get their 2-year-old to keep a mask on. Like it became so moralized that you were literally judged as if you were an evil person.
Well, and again, though,
by not embracing whatever it was that day.
Yeah.
Right.
And the problem, and I come back to the functionality of that. The problem is our lack of scientific understanding.
Yeah.
All of that emotion, all of the examples that you built on were based on faulty or incorrect scientific understanding at the time. And some of it involved absolutely the government. When the government was telling us, you got to wipe down all the stuff and maybe COVID will live on door handles and things for days, they should have come out and said, this is what we see now, but we're going to find out more. the idea, when my wife said, oh my God, we've got to wipe down all the groceries, I looked at her and said, okay, I go, we'll do this now. I go, but I guarantee you this is going to change and going to change quickly.
Right.
Only because the virus and the virus itself and what I already knew about that family of viruses. And here's the thing. Not a surprise to the audience. I'm a bit of a nerd. I have some weird tendencies. And during high school, my high school biology teacher explained to us that on the basic definition of life, viruses don't satisfy that definition. How we define whether or not something's alive, viruses don't check all those boxes, yet they're obviously still alive.
Yeah.
How? Why? It was a really interesting discussion. That led me on a 6-week deep dive on my own to find as much as I possibly could about viruses because I found them fascinating. This is no writing first class. This did nothing to do with tests or anything else. I just thought it was interesting. So I went on this little nerd mining expedition and I grabbed a whole bunch of stuff about how viruses and how virology works. So I had somewhat of a base knowledge. I was no way an expert, but had a base knowledge of viruses when this thing started. And I understand the family of viruses in which the COVID lives in. And the idea that it was going to be able to be present and still virulent on door handles or on the stuff that you bring home didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Could this be a mutation and all of a sudden it's able to? Yes. I'm absolutely open to the possibility, but it didn't seem likely. However, I still lay all of this emotion, all of the chaos, all of the anger at the feet of the government. They're the ones that were in charge of the messaging, and no one came out and said, listen, guys, this is going to change. And especially early on, it's going to change rapidly because we're going to find out new things all the time. And we're going to find something in one study that then a second study isn't going to be able to corroborate. So maybe there was something in the first study that was faulty that came to the wrong conclusion. It's all the time. We should have expected every 3 to 4 days to find out something different about the virus or to find out that what we were doing is wrong. I mean, even through our lives, we found out that you're supposed to eat eggs. Don't eat eggs. Eat a lot of eggs. Don't eat the raw eggs. Only eat the cooked eggs. Only eat the eggs when you're standing on your head. Only eat the eggs with green eggs and ham. Only eat them with Sam I am at a train. It's all changed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's it. It just to me was it was a stark realization that we have decided to ignore basic scientific knowledge or at least understand how it's processed. It was phenomenal to watch. But I was like, wow, you guys are getting angry over stuff that you obviously just don't understand the functionality and how these things work. But
here's the question I have for our listeners, 303-696-1971. Are you glad you never got the jab? Are you glad you did get the jab? Or do you regret getting the jab? So one of those three. Are you glad you never got the jab? Are you glad you did get the jab, or do you regret getting the jab? Some text messages coming in. The way they treated those who chose not to take the vaccine was borderline criminal. The only good thing to come of this is we now know who the lions are and who are the sheep. 3264. Billy, sorry it changes. We all agree on that, but science just outright lied to us through that process.
What was the lie? Call in and tell me. I'm super curious. I'd
3692.
Where you feel that you were lied to by the science.
We chose never to get it. I've had COVID at least twice. I probably had it since then. I'm not downplaying it because the first time I got it, which was in December of 2020.
Yeah.
Was nasty. It was a very nasty cold. It was one of the worst colds I've ever had. Okay, so this was early on. I got it down at a rodeo in Texas, and our whole family got it for my kids.
And that would be a great place to get it as far as how the virus spreads. That would be a that would be a high traffic.
We were in a bar in Dallas. I can tell you exactly where I got it. For our kids, it was one of the most mild colds they ever had. Right, it was a runny nose. So we chose as a family, we're not going to get this. I'm very glad we didn't. I am concerned about myocarditis. I'm concerned about the long-term effects of this. But what really makes me angry about the whole thing, as I said, was the moralizing around it, where if you questioned it, if you pause for a second, if you were really the 6 feet, if I was within 6 feet and had a mask or didn't have a mask, or I walked down the supermarket aisle in the wrong way, or 4 forcing these 2-year-olds into masks, that you are somehow an evil person. And they wonder why trust is at an all-time low with some of these institutions, is because, as you said, Bill, they didn't allow science to go through its natural process of evaluating something and changing.
Yeah.
Instead, put these huge moral kind of systems and pillars down on it. Let's go to Tony, Littleton, Colorado. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning.
Hey, good morning. I think Billy touched on something that is kind of interesting, and that's around this idea that, you know, we no longer believe in institutions and science and math and so forth, and then you kind of combine that with where we're at now as a society, where it's, you know, my rights. No, forget the greater good. Doesn't matter what the greater good is. Don't step on my rights. And this type of the whole mask thing was exactly what we went through as a country back in 1919, whenever that influenza. Same thing. But the one thing that I think stays with us as a society, and we're paying a price, it crippled our medical system. And we're going to be paying for it for at least a generation.
Tony,
and
what crippled the medical system?
During that period, nurses in particular were working just outrageous hours.
Yeah.
And on more than one occasion, and I just happened to be in an environment where I interfaced with nurses, mostly around the Littleton, Inglewood, Highlands Ranch area. And the message that I got from several nurses was, okay, don't get the shot. Don't get the shot. Just don't come to the hospital if you get sick. Their position was, if people that did not get the shot did not come to the hospital, it would not have broken our medical system. And it is broken. Nursing shortages are outrageous. That's in part why medical costs are going up now, because they're paying nurses so much money. And you've heard the stories of them hiring traveling nurses to come in and stay and paying them outrageous $10,000 a week to work during COVID. Well, then nurses didn't sign up. Nurses for the program, nurses that were retired early. Now there's a shortage that it will take 20 years to refill the pipeline on nurses. And that was all because of people who did not get shots, and then they went to the hospital. If they had not done that, if you stay home and die slowly or recover slowly, we wouldn't have had that problem. So it was real. And that's probably why China was so restrictive, because they knew their medical system couldn't keep up with it. There was no way. And they were draconian in the way they were trying to clamp down on it, you know, as we all recall. So it's not like it was nothing. It's not like it wasn't a real deal. Mm-hmm. And our nursing system, our medical system today will show that price we're going to pay now for at least 10, 15 years. So, you know, Tony, something to keep in mind.
That's a very interesting perspective. I appreciate the call. Tony, making the argument that that those that chose not to get the vaccine put a lot of pressure on the healthcare system that's going to live out for generations. Do you agree with that? I'm not sure. I'm not sure I do. Because I think that some of the strategies to deal with COVID, as it related to ventilators, things like that, were not necessarily helpful. And I don't have the evidence right here, but I've heard that, and maybe somebody can call in and give us the details on that. But you know, the idea that a lot of the problems in the healthcare system were blamed as a result of the pressure put on it by people that chose not to be vaccinated seems like that would continue, right? Because you have to get this continued booster over and over and over again. And maybe it's just my world. I don't have a lot of people that I know that are continuing to get the yearly booster. So
part of that, though, goes back to the science. We can talk about that after the break.
Yeah.
That we would 3-4 years out, we would not see the same death rate or the same hospitalizations, not at all, based on the virus. based on the evolution of the virus.
Yeah. Let's talk about that. Mary, we'll get to you in just a second. Tony's line is open. Are you glad you got the vaccination? Are you glad you didn't get the vaccination? Do you regret getting the vaccination? Article from Fox, largest ever COVID vaccine study links shot to small increase in heart and brain conditions, including myocarditis. We'll take your calls. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
All right, phone lines filling up as well as text messages. Let's go to these text messages here. The article we're discussing from Fox, largest ever COVID vaccine study links shot to small increase in heart and brain conditions. My question to you all is, are you glad you got the COVID vaccine? Are you glad you didn't get the COVID vaccine? Do you regret getting the COVID vaccine? And we have a ton of text messages. I got the vaccine boosters, never got COVID. Everyone else in my family without boosters did get COVID. I am pro-vax. I am 77, got all shots, did not get COVID. Glad I got all shots. Who did you and your family infect? There's studies out there that show that even if you have the COVID vaccine, you can still pass it on to, you can still pass COVID on to other people.
Which makes the mask conversation super awkward.
Yeah, right.
Super awkward. Because again, that for me is another designation of where we completely and totally ignored the science. And the fact that I heard Coloradans that had been in this state for more than 5 years scream about masks being ineffective, I looked at them and went, have you been outside in the winter? Have you tried that? And anybody who lives in Colorado for more than 5 winter seasons knows that masks are effective. And here's the example. If you've walked outside and in the cold and you go, and you've seen your breath, that is the water molecules inside of your breath that are condensing inside of the air in front of you. That's showing you where the breath out of your body is going. If you put just a knit scarf over your face and you do the same thing, those water droplets don't go as far.
Mm-hmm.
And that is knit wool or cotton that prevents your breath from going anywhere. And again, the reason we were supposed to be wearing the masks is not to keep you safe. But again, our messaging was bass-ackwards. The reason you wear the mask is at a time in which you are shedding virus, you're not then spreading it to other people. That's it.
Right.
That's the only reason we were doing it. But did anybody tell you that? No. No one bothered to tell you that. Everybody said, wear the mask, your face is going to fall off. I just, come on. It hurt. It hurt right here in my head. It hurt. All the stuff that we did during the COVID.
My sister, after the first shot, developed myocarditis and blood clots. She never fully recovered. After the first round of shots, I knew 4 women who either miscarried or their baby was stillborn. I feel fortunate that I didn't have any heart problems.
I'd be curious to see if the shot was the AstraZeneca, because the AstraZeneca one, I believe, is the blood clot one. The others did not show blood clots in development afterwards. So if we're going to have a causal relationship between the two, you'd need to have the AstraZeneca shot, because the Pfizer and the other one did not develop blood clots in post-market testing. Just saying.
In all honesty, the question is framed in an ignorant manner. Glad should not be an issue. Regret should only come in if there is a negative outcome. Well, that's the point we're asking. Framing it in the way you have just plays into Bill's point, emotion over listening to science. I chose not to get the vax due to personal health issues, being immunocompromised. Vaccines are mostly a negative for me, but emotion did not have place in that decision.
Yeah, and if you are immunocompromised, no, do not get that. So,
even the science themselves, Fauci admitted distancing was arbitrary. As someone who is in the wedding business, has obviously proved to be devastating for our industry. Let's go to Mary Arvada. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Mary.
Good morning.
Good morning. So I work for a pretty large hospital chain. And during COVID, of course, we were given the option, get the job or be fired. Unless you could come up with an incredible, great reason, then go ahead, provide your reason. We'll determine if it's a good one, and then you don't have to get the job, but you have to be masked for an entire year from morning to night. So if you're on the premises, you will be masked. So we had this town hall meeting once the shot had come out, and we're hearing that the shot has like a 95 or 98% efficacy rate. So my question was, of course, well, if it's that good, do we still have to wear a mask every day? And the answer was immediately yes. And when I pushed it, I was shut down. I was blocked and not able to ask any more questions, which I thought was kind of interesting. As to whether or not I'm glad I got the shot, I would rather have not gotten the shot, but I have to eat and I have to pay my mortgage. So in that respect, I guess I felt like I had little choice. I would not have gotten it had I not been forced into a corner.
Bill, I mean, to Mary's point, do you think that's fair in America? That, I mean, you were literally forced, some people were forced to get the shot even though they had concerns about it?
I disagree with your use of the word forced. I don't think that's the correct verb.
Well, they were going to lose their job if they didn't get the shot. That seems forced to me.
I know, but guess what? If I don't show up to my job in the morning, I lose my job. If I leave at lunch and don't come back, I lose my job.
I think those are on the same level of getting a shot that you have concerns about, health concerns that may affect you for the rest of your life.
If it is a blizzard outside and I have concerns over whether or not I'm safely going to get to work and I don't show up and the boss says you don't show up, you've been late so many times, you're fired. Doesn't matter. My concerns are irrelevant. This is the issue. This is what I'm surprised about, is that people that over and over again trump individual choices and liberty are mad about a choice. You had a choice. If the job said get a vax and keep your job, or don't have the vax and don't have your job, you have a choice. Nobody was rounded up on train cars and put into camps and forcibly vaccinated, which we have done in this country and we have done in other countries. That happened during smallpox. We rounded people up and forcibly went through neighborhoods and gave them a shot. We didn't do that. We had a choice. And everybody here has a choice. We have that choice of when you go somewhere to work, they're going to pay you a wage. You choose to take that wage or not. You go to work, you can wear a uniform or not. You take that choice or not.
Mary, do you think that that's a fair assessment of the situation you were put into?
To an extent, yes. Many of my coworkers have a spouse or, someone to help with the bills. My husband passed away. I'm on my own. If I don't work, there's no one to pick up the slack. So I felt like, sure, it's a choice. It's a choice of getting the shot or potentially losing my house, not being able to eat or whatever. I've never gotten COVID. I did get the shot twice. However, my son got the shot 3 or 4 times, got COVID twice. My other son people get COVID with the shot or without.
Yeah.
My original understanding is if you got the shot, you're not going to get COVID. And then it became, if you get the shot, if you get COVID, it's not going to be so bad. But yet I have another friend that got the shots, all of them. He's got long COVID, and now he's been diagnosed with stage 3 cancer. And I understand that the cancer rates are going up drastically in this country since we're post-COVID.
But to be fair, Mary, fair, Mary, they're not causally related.
We don't know that, though.
Yes, we do, Mary, because you understand how vaccines work and you understand how you have the medical knowledge to understand how cancer works, and you have the medical knowledge to understand how this vaccine works. They are not causally related. Correlation is not causation, and you know that.
Well, to an extent, but this was also messing with people's RNA, which, that's rare. That hasn't really happened before.
What was the process? And now, again, the mRNA had been tested, but what is the process and what is it telling the mRNA to do? It's not changing it at all. And that's a misconception. The mRNA vaccine does not change your biology and does not change anything inside of your cells. Not correct.
Not for future, for mothers that want to have children in the future. That wasn't. I know it was a concern, Mary, but it wasn't proven. There was no causal relationship there either. There's a texture, and yes, they had concerns, and yes, there were miscarriages afterwards, but they weren't necessarily correlations, not causation. They can't point back to it, and there's no study that shows miscarriages after the COVID vaccine. The mRNA vaccine teaches your mRNA how to fight off the vaccine, how it gains access to the cells and how it wants to reproduce. That's all it's doing. It doesn't change a single thing. It doesn't change a single fact about your genetic code. Nothing. It's just coming in and teaching your cells to do something as if they would learn if they ran into any other infection in your body. That's what happens. All we were doing is we were giving them the cliff notes. Now, it was rushed, and there were times in which it was ineffective,
But the idea that it changed your biology, it's not
Mary,
true.
I appreciate the call. Mary from Arvada. Mary's line is going to be open 303-696-1971. Here's a text message that I agree with. They're angry at Trump for not fighting these types of COVID issues and kind of buying into the Fauci stuff. I think that's a very fair critique of Donald Trump.
It's if you're mad about the shot, yeah, you should be mad at Donald Trump because warp speed is him,
right?
Not Biden.
I agree.
Yeah, not at all. The shutdowns were under him. The mandatory vaccinations were under him. That's where they started.
Let's go to Mike let's go to Ken. He's been waiting a little bit longer. Ken Thornton, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Ken.
Morning, guys.
Morning.
What's up?
So I think, well, first of all, I more agree with that woman, Mary, than I do with Billy.
Not unusual.
There's a couple of other doctors, and these guys are pretty adamant about causation problems with the vaccine. Like this myocarditis, you never heard of it before.
Yeah, that's true.
And there are a lot of people out there with that problem. And so I think there was too much of a rush job with that. And then as well, when the vaccine or when this problem was out there, I heard hardly anybody talking about the idea of diet, exercise, obesity, diabetes that played into all these problems that were from this coronavirus.
No, Ken, I got a question.
So,
Ken, I got a question for you.
And also
Ken, excuse me, Quinn, I got a question for you. When you're talking about,
excuse me, I just want to finish one.
No, hang on. On our diet, have you finished? Have you paid attention to the American diets? I mean, our American diet. Yes, you're absolutely right. But that is kind of what we lean into. We're the obese, out of shape ones. You're absolutely right on that one. But that's kind of where we are. Yes.
And obesity plays into so many health problems.
Yep.
And other nations, for example, we eat a lot of wheat in this country, which has, according to many doctors, many health problems right off the get-go. And nations where they eat rice, which is a glucose sugar thing, but they didn't eat wheat, they had many fewer problems. So where were the medical people that evidently say, we care about you and your health?
Yeah.
Where was the education? Where the
details.
Public taking responsibility?
Yeah, Ken, I agree with you. Ken from Thornton,
point.
Thanks for the call. Here's a question that we can get to when we come back, because we got to do You Choose the News, and then I want to continue this conversation to the 7 o'clock hour as well. Good for kids to get the vaccine?
Ooh.
Or is it good to just get the natural immunity and deal with it? Like, what's better?
Yeah.
And is there a better?
Yeah. And also the efficacy of natural immunity.
Yeah.
There's again, scientists, you let me down. All you science hippies in the white coats, every single one of you let me down because you have messed this message up. Because even the message on natural immunity was fouled up and wasn't based in facts. They didn't tell you the entire story.
Ooh, I want to talk more about that. We've got a whole lot to cover. Imagine effortlessly gliding open your cabinets and drawers to reveal neatly arranged shelves that showcase your belongings. With roll-em-out shelves, you'll easily access your pots, pans, and other essentials, eliminating chaos and increasing speed and functionality in your home. Roll-em-out shelves understands that every home storage needs are unique. Whether you're dealing with tight corners or expansive cabinets, your shelves will be custom built to maximize every inch of available space. Joyce and Brent Tolliver, the mom and son dynamic duo, leave satisfied customers wherever they go, and they're all 5-star reviews confirm. Here's what some of their overjoyed customers say. We're so happy with our kitchen that we're now planning to do our bathrooms as well. The quality of the products are excellent. The quality of the labor installation is outstanding. The customer service is unsurpassed. I absolutely recommend Roll-em-Out Shelves. They are good listeners, and they have great suggestions for cabinetry solutions. This is a top-notch company, excellent product, excellent service and installation. We had shelves installed in the laundry room and kitchen. Makes a world of difference in accessing items. I highly recommend them. Begin the affordable transformation in your home for less than $1,000 when Roll-em-Out Shelves efficiently organizes your space with sturdy Baltic birch shelves built right here in Colorado and guaranteed for life. Call for your free in-home estimate today, 303-475-9601 or rollemoutshelves.com. Tell them Jeff sent you, rollemoutshelves.com. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show. Up next, you choose the news.
News Talk 710, KNUS.
At this hour in Brussels, I'm Alex Cadier. Here are the top stories we're following. Polish farmers are set to ramp up protests at the Ukrainian border, blocking virtually all traffic between the two countries. The protesters say unfair competition from abroad, particularly from Ukraine, and restrictive rules imposed by the European Union have threatened their livelihoods. Ukraine says the protest will hurt its economy and hinder its war effort. Kyiv also claimed that Ukrainian exports through Eastern Europe have not damaged European markets. The Polish government has urged protesters not to disrupt Ukraine's war efforts and is negotiating a deal with Kyiv to limit Ukrainian imports into Poland. As the race for president heats up, we're about to find out which candidates are raising the most money. Campaigns are set to report their fundraising for January to the Federal Election Commission. So far, they've raised a combined $400 million. Benji Heyer has more from Washington.
This is a routine procedure. Committees that have received contributions or made expenditures of at least $100,000 during the 2024 presidential election cycle must file these monthly reports. That includes the main candidates, so President Joe Biden, former President Donald Trump, and his rival for the Republican Party's nomination, Nikki Haley, plus still several independent or third-party outsiders, all vying for the Oval Office.
And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm Alex Cadier in Brussels on Salem News Channel.
All right, text messages coming in there as we got a hot topic today. Phone lines as well. We'll get to it in this 7 o'clock hour. Let's do You Choose the News, Bill.
Yes, some people think this is my theme song, but no, it is something way different. We can't get into that this morning. But before that, yes, sir, it is time to play everybody's favorite fake radio news game show, You Choose the News. Here in my hand, I have hot news stories that we have scoured the interwebs for. At least 5 minutes this morning, because we do a lot of stupid things. Pretty easy to find them. We've given them really ridiculous headlines to play this fake radio news game. Why? Because the people in charge aren't awake yet. So, about 10 minutes here, and then we could get in trouble. So we got to get right to it. All righty, sir. No holding back. And Blake Olson, of course, from the newsroom, joining us to choose our third story. Blake, no pressure, but it's all on you to close this out and make it good. All righty. Here we go. Headline number 1, making it easy for authorities. Headline number 2, it's not a wishing well. Headline number 3, passion and commitment, check. Knowledge, not so much. And discover grandma's gold mine. Your choice, sir.
Grandma's gold mine.
Yeah,
let's do it.
Let's discover grandma's gold mine. Every single grandmother in their house has those adorable little precious moments figurines. I think when you become a grandma, they hand you a box of them as you leave the hospital.
And those little strawberry candies
exactly.
that you can never find in a store.
Werther's Originals. That's exactly what they have. But some of those precious moments could be a gold mine for grandma or for you if you inherit them. The original 21 Precious Moments figurines are very valuable. Now, they produced more than 2,500 different figurines in their life since the company began in 1978, but it is the original 21, and depending on how old they are, that hold the most value. They're still producing the Love One Another figurine, which is one of the original 21, but none of the rest are actually being produced. And the older they are, the more you can get for them. A good Loveth and Cheerful Giver figurine can sell for $275 if it was produced recently. If it was an older one, it could be worth $5,000 or more.
Wow.
Yeah.
There you go.
So grandma, you said on a gold mine.
Little cabinet.
Exactly. Yes. And how come grandma's house always smells that weird? Everybody's grandmother's house smells weird. Okay. Next choice, sir. Making it easy for the authorities. It's not a wishing well, or passion and commitment, check. Knowledge, not so much.
It's not a wishing well.
It is not a wishing well. We travel to Omaha, Nebraska for this one. We are visiting Omaha's Henry Dorley Zoo, and specifically their 36-year-old alligator named Thibodeau. Thibodeau recently was having some indigestion. He had a problem, and he just wasn't eating, and he was kind of lethargic, so we went into surgery. Now they were able to intubate him and found out that in his tummy, he had 70 coins from people throwing coins into the fountain. And he went num-num.
They're like goats.
Yeah,
I guess they eat everything.
Yeah.
Huh?
So basically the zoo is saying, hey, how about you don't feed the alligator, pretty please? Okay, final choice this morning, joined by Mr. Blake Olson. Blake, your choices are making it easy for authorities or passion and commitment, check. Knowledge, not so much.
Let's go with making it easy.
It's always nice. It's always nice when you make it easy for the authorities. Elliot Edwards, 38 years old, of Pilot Station, Alaska, has been cited for doing something a little untoward. Basically, Elliot went out, found a young moose that was right near the Yukon River. He was on his four-wheeler at the time, so he promptly did what everybody else would do and harassed the animal. Yeah, he chased it around for a while, kind of like, running around with it and trying to get it into the water and a bunch of other stuff. And then he did the real genius thing. He uploaded it onto the social medias, making it super easy for the authorities to go, hey, Elliot, you know that we have a law that's against using motor vehicles to, and I quote, harass, herd, drive, or molest game. That last one, I'm real curious about. I mean, are we talking drive-in movies? I mean, what are we doing here? We're like, yes, I'll be right back. Yeah, you do that stretch, that yawn, that as you put your arm around the game you're about to molest. I guess that's what you do. But that's it. Thank you so much for playing along, Blake. That's the end of You Choose the News. As always, I am a giant loser, and Blake and Jeff are your winners. Yes, I do have to tell you that we are definitely not sponsored by Layer Fireplace and Patio. They have way too much actual commitment to value and not being silly like we do on the air. So if you're not a fan of You Choose the News, or if you are still, visit Lair Fireplace and Patio. They have got amazing things for both your inside and outside spaces. They can save you money. Make sure that fireplace isn't leaking all your heat out there. And then when it gets sunny and bright in the springtime, they've got the barbecues for you, and you can get thousands of dollars off right now with rebates only they can point you to. Go check them out, Lair Fireplace and Patio, but don't mention this. Whatever you do, do not mention that you heard it here on You Choose the News. Trouble. Yeah, they'll charge you more for that. All right, back to you, sir.
That's great. Thank you, Bill, for You Choose the News. Mike, we're going to get to you at the top of the hour. Conversation we're having today in Fox News, largest ever COVID vaccine study links shot to small increase in heart and brain conditions. They analyzed 99 million vaccinated individuals. I don't think this is an issue we really closed out in as a culture, have had a conversation about everything that we went through. the kind of moralizing that went around. We have a text message here. How many people did you kill by not getting the vaccination?
I know.
That kind of notion that, even questioning what was being said to you. And Bill, you mentioned this perfectly, this idea that what came down from the scientists, from Fauci early on, was somehow Moses with stone tablets speaking to our culture, and was like a religious dictation that you had to abide by.
Yeah, no, science is written in pencil, and the fact that we approached it as if it was carved in stone, that's in many ways on us. I lay the blame a lot at the government and Fauci for not explaining it to us, but still, that's on us. We were dumb.
So, are you glad you got the vaccination? Are you not? Are you glad you didn't get the vaccination? Do you regret getting the vaccination? How about kids? Should we be forcing kids to get vaccinations?
Oh, that's interesting.
Give us a call. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Been a wild morning. Good morning. 7 a.m. on this Tuesday, February 20th. The sun is shining in the Mile High City, and the conversation is hot. We're talking this article in Fox, largest ever COVID vaccine study links shot to small increase in heart and brain conditions. Are you glad you got the vaccination? Are you glad you didn't? Do you regret getting it? Are you going to vaccinate your kids? Do you think that's a smart thing to do? Would love to hear from you. Give us a call, 303-696-1971, or text us on the 710 KNUS app. Mike, we're going to get to you in just a second. Let's go to Blake Olson with the news.
All right, Jeff, thank you very much. 36, partly cloudy in Denver, expecting highs in the low 60s. Another gorgeous day on the way. The 710 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story, a suspect in the UCCS shooting is headed to court in just hours. Colorado Springs Police Chief Adrian Vasquez says the department is working to bring the community swift justice. There was a healing walk on Monday trying to help students and the community.
There's definitely a general sense of shock and sadness in the air. However, at the same time, there have been a lot of people coming together, remembering life and just learning to enjoy what they have.
Police arrested 25-year-old student Nicholas Jordan Monday morning, 3 miles from the University of Colorado Springs. He's accused of opening fire inside a dorm Friday, killing 2 people, Samuel Knopp of Parker, also a student, and Celie Montgomery of Pueblo. The appearance is set for 1:30 today, with more information expected to come this afternoon. A staff member at Lakewood's Creighton Middle School is accused of inappropriately touching students. An investigation into 27-year-old Luis Robles Luvanos began after several boys at the school reported the inappropriate touching, and he was arrested on Friday. He's charged with sexual assault on a child by one in position of trust. Police believe Robles Luvanos could have more victims, and anyone who has information that could help in the investigation should contact the Lakewood Police Department. Colorado investigators, finally closer to solving a case from 33 years ago. Remains found on Wolf Creek Pass in Mineral County have now been identified as Stephen Risku from Indiana. Heather Hall is Risku's niece.
It was obviously a huge shock that he had been dead this whole time. And our family had held out hope for so long that he was alive. It's like grieving a little bit all over again.
Hall says she never got to meet her uncle after he disappeared in 1987. President Biden says he's considering more sanctions against Moscow after the death of opposition leader Alexei Navalny. Biden told reporters he would be willing to enact additional sanctions on top of those already levied after Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Conservatives this morning criticizing the Biden administration for turning their back on Israel, supporting Hamas, and forcing a ceasefire. Southern California bracing for more possible flooding. Large sections of Los Angeles County are under flood watch through tomorrow. The storm is expected to target the LA basin today, prompting warnings of potential mudslides. Will Byron takes the checkered flag in the Daytona 500.
Incredible. I mean, this race takes so much to go your way, and so many little things that happen. And I just felt like our team did a great job.
Spills, chills, thrills, wrecks, caution flags, and Mark Crowley was excited about it. He loves the Daytona 500.
Blake, are you a big car racing guy?
I am not, but I'll tell you what, in the early 90s, Jeff, I went to Daytona. I had to cover it for a week. Felt like a year. I'm not going to lie to you. But it was incredible because right before the race, man, they allowed us to be on the track right before the guys got in their cars. And Derek Cope, I'll never forget this. He walks up. He was a great NASCAR star. And he said what every racer says, and we used to joke about it, but he walked out and said, "Hey, you ready to go?" And he goes, "Yeah, we're gonna be riding loose or riding tight. We'll see." And then the 30 other guys after he continued on, they said, "We're gonna be riding loose and riding tight, riding loose and riding tight." So it was awesome. So good stuff. Love the Daytona 500. Avs play host to the Canucks tonight. The Nuggets and the Wizards Thursday night. And CSU takes on New Mexico tomorrow night. College hoops. 32 in Brighton, 33 in Highlands Ranch, 36 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Well, now there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts. Talk back to your favorite local hosts.
At the tone, leave a message.
Call the show. Set your alarm. Enter contests and win prizes. All in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today.
All right. Here we go. All right. We're talking Fox News headline, largest ever COVID vaccine study links shot to small increase in heart and brain conditions. The largest COVID vaccine study to date has identified some risks associated with the shot. Researchers from the Global Vaccine Data Network, GVDN, in New Zealand analyzed 99 million people who received COVID vaccinations across 8 countries. They monitor for increases in 13 medical conditions in the period after people received the COVID vaccine. The study, which was published in the journal Vaccine last week, found that the vaccine was linked to a slight increase in neurological, blood, and heart-related medical conditions, according to a press release from GVDN. People who received certain types of mRNA vaccines were found to have a higher risk of myocarditis, which is inflammation of the heart muscle. Some viral vector vaccines were linked to higher risk of blood clots in the brain, as well as an increased likelihood of a syndrome of a neurological disorder in which the immune system attacks the nerves. Other potential risks include inflammation of part of the spinal cord after viral vector vaccines and inflammation and swelling in the brain and spinal cord after viral vector and mRNA vaccines, the press release stated. So big study, 99 million people, slight increase. Most doctors saying that the benefits of stopping COVID still outweigh the risks. Let's go to Mike in Littleton. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Thanks, Mike, for sticking around with us. What's up?
Well, you're welcome. You got me all stirred up. I haven't called in this early since I think Peter Boyles was on the air. Called him at 5:15 and argued about the COVID shot. I did not get the shot. I have 3 sons in their 20s that did not. I do not regret it. I lost a job of, to Billy's point, by my choice of 15 years. I was forced out because I would not take the shot. So all that said, my current, I guess, anger point is that we've learned nothing from this whole episode. We've done nothing. We lost our rights, our constitutional rights during this crisis. We had suppression of information by the government during this crisis. We have laws being passed in California right now to de-license doctors for spreading misinformation in the future. That'll be here, I'm sure, because everything arrives here eventually from California. Anyways, we have not reformed the CDC. And here we go. It really angers me.
Yeah, Mike, I feel the frustration too. I remember my wife and I had to fight very hard with our county commissioners, and actually they were pretty supportive, but this Tri-County Health that wanted to keep our kids' schools shut. And we had this gut sense, and we're looking at the data, we're looking at how it's affecting young people, and this idea that they wanted to continue to keep kids in online school, and we had to get the county commissioners to withdraw from Tri-County Health in order to just get our kids back in school. And we never dealt. I don't know a single person that lost their job over this stuff. You know, these types of bad political leadership that put 2-year-olds into masks, that kicked kids off of airplanes, this moralizing that took place around it. And to Bill's point, he's right. You know, science changes. It's a pencil. It's not written in stone. But nobody ever really paid politically for some really bad decisions. I remember right as we were going, we were jumping on phone calls secretly, I think, listening to what Jared Polis was going to say to these faith communities, because he kind of kept the conservative community out because we were afraid they were going to shut down churches. And so they tried to he tried to host these conference calls with the faith community and then carve out and not allow conservatives. And we had to go to our pastors' friends and be like, hey, can you get us in on this call so we can hear? Are they going to shut down the ability to go to church as well? I mean, it was really bad during those early days. And I don't think anyone really answered for it.
No, and Fauci lied to Congress, and he's nothing has ever occurred with that. My other anger point is what we've done and what we continue to do to our own children. They're still putting kids in masks in schools. I think it was New Jersey I recently read about. What we did to their education. Put them behind, grade levels by making them work from home. Europe, for instance, we ignored the information and data coming out of Europe that, you don't do this to your kids. I think we still have the COVID vaccination on the childhood immunization schedule for kids 6 and above. Jeff, it's insanity. We've learned nothing.
I mean, honest question, and feel free to call in 303-696-1971 or text us. What is the benefit of getting these young kids COVID? Or COVID vaccines. I saw with our kids that this was the most mild cold they had. Now, I understand you don't want to pass it on to grandparents, that type of thing, where it could be a bigger issue, but that seems like a self-isolation issue. But getting 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds COVID vaccinations? I don't know. Am I wrong on that? Let me know.
No, you're totally right. Every data point, every true expert that I've read or heard said from the beginning that kids under the age of 10 would not, they're not going to die from it. First of all, Dr. Robert Malone. And second of all, they're probably going to be harmed from it. Myocarditis, Peter McCullough. And so they were strongly recommending, don't do this to your kids because they really have no effect from the virus. It's not, like you say, a cold maybe.
Yeah, it's a runny nose. Anyway. It was a runny nose.
Now, this is really interesting. This is really interesting. I spent a long time listening to Mike's long list of grievances and what we're upset about here. And to be fair, this is something interesting. Of the entire thing of what we're upset about, not a single time has anyone in this conversation mentioned that 1 million Americans died because of it. Yeah. That we're mad about this or we're mad about that. And no, hang on a second. I listened, Mike. I listened a lot to what you're saying. And I understand the idea that you're talking about myocarditis. And I know the doctor you're speaking of, and he's playing fast and loose with the facts. And what I mean by that is if you look at the facts, the chances of developing myocarditis are statistically much more significant if you get COVID than if you have the vaccine. You can develop it from the vaccine, but if the core issue is you're worried about developing myocarditis, it is by far more likely to develop after COVID than the vaccine. So again, if that's the issue, then if you're worried about the myocarditis, according to the statistics, according to the science, you get the shot. But that's not what the doc's telling you. He's playing loose and fast.
Okay. Well, really, I don't want to argue with you here. I can tell you this, though, that the 1 million number that you quoted is an exaggerated number because they've recorded people that died with COVID in their system. There was a couple in Grand County, Colorado, murder-suicide, that were recorded as COVID deaths because they had COVID in their system, Bill.
Two things.
So those numbers are bogus.
Two questions for you. Of that million, what percentage of it are the bogus numbers?
Who knows?
Well, I think that's important if you're going to say they're bogus numbers.
But that wasn't Mike's number. That was your number.
Yeah, I know, but he's saying my number is bogus, and I'm saying
do you think your number is totally accurate?
Yes, I believe it is fairly accurate because I quoted 1 million, and we have 1.17 million. So I am offering. Wait, Mike. To be fair, my number, I offered up a $170,000 person error rate. I put in there that we could have been wrong about 170,000 cases. The other thing we have to realize, and I understand, and you were right about the cases in Grand County, and I see those, but they're anecdotal. Also, remember this.
Anecdotal?
Yes, they are.
Record it.
But I know that. you're not understanding my use of the word anecdotal, to be fair. But the issue of this is here, that nobody dies from the AIDS virus. No one does. The AIDS virus compromises your immune system and you die from something else. The issue we had with COVID was with the people with those with morbid obesity, with other compromised immune systems, that it hurt their immune system. They were going to get COVID and not die from COVID. They were going to get COVID and die from heart failure, die from pulmonary embolisms. They were going to die from pneumonia. That's what they were going to die from. Same thing. So the argument that, well, they didn't die from COVID is not factually correct. You're correct about there being some overcount, but inside my million number, I gave you 170,000 people that we got wrong, and you still weren't happy with it.
All right. Well, like I said, I don't want to argue too much, but take a look at the VAERS database. If there's more people have been harmed by this vaccine, quote unquote.
That's not true.
Than from the virus.
Nope, not even true. That's not even close to true, Mike. I'm not going to let you go forward with this.
Last time I looked at VAERS, there was over 1 million entries there, and those are from doctors and medical professionals that enter those.
I know.
And that system is an underestimated system by maybe 4 to 5 fold, depending on who you talk to.
What's the weakness in the VAERS system? Since you're so familiar with it, what is the weakness in the system that makes it very difficult to draw any statistical analysis from the VAERS system? What is the weakness? You know the system, you've looked at it, you spent time with it. What's the problem with it?
Well, it's underreported.
No, it's self-reported. That's the problem. Well, there's no verification. No, you could go on there, Mike.
It's a complicated process.
Yeah, but you could go on there today, Mike, and you could report something and no one verifies it.
Well,
that's the core problem.
But okay, back up just a second. Of all the viruses, of all the vaccines we've had, the reports to that database for COVID vaccine exceed any other vaccine by maybe tenfold. Bill, there's something critically wrong with this, and our government knew about it from the beginning. They suppressed information on social media and on our other communication channels. Look at Mike Benz. He just recently came out with some of this. Defending what went on in any way, I just can't see it. I
want to know.
Everywhere I turn.
Okay, so if we got this wrong from the very, very first, how upset are you at President Trump? Because he was there in charge, and that's his administration. That's him that you just blamed on the air for him getting it wrong. How angry are you with him?
Bill, he's got a black mark. As far as I'm concerned, it was mishandled. And
excellent. I appreciate that.
No, seriously, I've never voted for the guy. I may vote for him this time, but. Anyways,
Mike, I'd love to have that conversation with you on another day, man. That would be fantastic. I'd be super curious about that. That would be fantastic. I appreciate all the information, and I appreciate the open conversation there, because you're right. There's some things where anecdotally there are some issues in where, we miscounted COVID numbers, and the guidelines that they sent out about counting the COVID numbers were wrong. There's a list of things that we got wrong early on.
Mike, I really appreciate the call. That was great. Thanks for sticking around so much. Lots of text messages coming in. Still glad I didn't get the jab. Some of the cases I know, 45-year-old man died of blood clot in his brain. 34-year-old man died of a heart attack. 50-year-old man died of a heart attack. 35-year-old woman got, I think it's Guillain-Barré syndrome. 24-year-old myocarditis, still struggling. 70-ish-year-old woman, stroke and died several days after getting the jab. Before the vax, I personally didn't know any young person having heart issues.
Yeah, that syndrome is 110% correct. That is a very significant side effect. Is it statistically significant? No. But does it happen? Yes. And is it serious? Yes. The heart attack thing, responded to the texter. There was a study, and again, I might have the timeline wrong, 6 to 10 years prior to COVID. So before COVID ever existed, there's a study showing a dramatic increase in heart attacks, pulmonary issues, and myocarditis in young people. That the amount of heart disease we were seeing in young people was dramatically increasing.
Too much fast food.
Yeah, but that is before COVID. And that's important because too many people, this is the issue. Just because you haven't looked before for a 4-leaf clover in your yard doesn't mean they didn't exist before today. Mm-hmm. That's the thing that we're missing here. Just because you never heard about myocarditis or you didn't hear about young people dying of heart attacks didn't mean it didn't occur. It just meant you didn't hear. It's not because no 4-leaf clovers existed in your yard before today when you decided to look.
Morning, guys. I regret getting the shot. I took the Pfizer shot just 2, and after the second, I started to have joint pain, and since have been diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder. The steroids I was taking for it raised my blood pressure and made me gain weight. I hurt my back. Lots of health problems since. I can still walk, but am not good.
Oh, now I feel for that one. And for me, I don't discount that story in any way, shape, or form. And I do think that there's a lot wrapped up in there that could be connected to the virus, in part because of the steroids and other medication. When you are combining medications and vaccines, there's some weird things that can happen. And if we had more time to study it, we probably could have. So yeah, I would be very, very concerned of someone in that situation getting the vaccine.
COVID was a social experiment of subjugation. It separated society into sheeps, wolves, and sheepdogs. If you wore a mask, got the vaccination, you are a sheeple.
Explain that to me. No, I want the caller to call in, the texter, call in, explain that to me.
Billy, you are a sheeple moron.
Again, I got no problem here. I get call. It's so easy to just type in the numbers on the text message.
Get it? Don't get it? Who cares?
I'm closer to that. Get it.
Bill is always right. Everyone else is wrong.
Tell my mom I will call her later. Thanks, Mom. Love you.
Weapons of mass communication. Billy, no one died from COVID. They died from their response their bodies had to the virus, which was totally dependent upon their metabolic health. This is why some people had a cold versus others ending up on ventilators and dying of cold, probably.
The other part in that conversation that we need to discuss is that each one of the COVID little viruses aren't the same. It's just like a pack of cheetahs, lions, tigers inside the wild. Some are very, very deadly. Others, you get the ones that kind of failed out of class. So some of the COVID viruses you get can be really, really impactful. The person sitting next to you can get COVID as well, but it's not a very good virus, and so it's not going to impact them as much. But again, we missed that.
Brian Arvada, line 1. You're on the Jeff and Bill show, 710 KNUS. Good morning, Brian.
Morning.
Hey, I will never know how many people act because so much was misreported. I mean, for every study, someone else could show this, someone else could show that. We'll never know. But they were reporting every single death that during that pandemic that someone had a slight trace of COVID in their body. It was from COVID. The hospitals were getting money for it, for God's sake. So, yeah, I don't believe any report that anybody says about it. I know for me, I have a 1 in a million chance of getting a condition because I got a shot from a virus that wasn't going to kill me. There's no way. And there's no way in how I would do that to my children either.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's 1 in a million, 1 in 2 million.
Right.
I'm not going to take that chance with my kids when both of them had it twice. They didn't have minor symptoms. I had it twice, and the first time it was pretty rough. The second time I followed Dr. McCullough's vitamin regimen, and I was back on my feet in 3 days.
Yeah.
I mean, so
Brian, question I got for you. The next pandemic that comes around, how do you think people are going to respond?
Reject. Majority of the country's going to reject it, not only because it financially devastated people, but all the lies they told. The same people that unleashed this virus on us are telling us to take a shot for it. Give me a break. Like, I'm going to believe any of that crap. Fauci should be up on criminal charges. Fauci should have Nuremberg trials all over again because the guy lied to us and profited off it, for God's sake. And as far as Trump's concerned, Trump did what he had to do. We didn't know what was going on. Hell, I was buying N95 masks when it first came out and considering the vaccination.
Yeah.
So Trump fast-tracked something thinking this would help the country. But
I think he still stands by it, though.
Yeah, he does.
Well, and you're right. And he fast-tracked it to help. He was getting information from the liars. And when you're in the president, you don't have all the expert. You're not a scientist. You have to trust the CDC. You have to trust the World Health Organization because they're supposedly the experts. But now, just like the curtain was pulled when Trump was elected over the deep state, the curtain's pulled over the deep state medical, Pfizer, CDC, World Health Organization. He pulled the because now we know they're all a bunch of liars. And Trump
Brian,
did what he had to do, but he didn't mandate military to take it. He didn't make people lose their jobs if they didn't take it. That was all Biden.
Brian, I appreciate the call. Brian from Arvada. I've never seen as many text messages.
This is great.
I mean, this is incredible.
Wonderful conversations.
COVID was a manufactured crisis. If you got the vaccine, you made that decision based on your own fear. If you still believe the vaccine, you are now a sheep. To Bill, 40 years ago was my first 2 pregnancies ended up miscarriaging in the second trimester, sent to a specialist. Progesterone. That's a little bit of a longer text message we'll have to get to. So we'll get to all of these. Feel free to give us a call, 303-696-1971. Hey, we all want a kinder, gentler way to experience wellness and to overcome pain. I'm thriving and fighting back my workout soreness with Ultra Cur. I spoke with them yesterday. Really great organization, supports the station, supports our values, and they put together content or a product that really helps. I take it each morning. I work out each morning before the show, and it keeps away the soreness. Ultra Cur is a patented non-prescription natural capsule that works fast. Surveys show that 50% of people using Ultra Cur find relief within 48 hours, and half of those within 2 hours. Experience Ultra Cur for free. Go to any Denver Metro natural grocers and ask for the health coach or the vitamin manager for your free 3-day trial of Ultra Cur. Ultra Cur is fueled by patented technology to give you the true edge to support your peak wellness, energy, and active lifestyle. If you've tried everything without much success, even other natural curcumin products, you owe it to yourself to try Ultra Cur today. Ultra Cur gives you unique control over your daily wellness. It's gentle on your stomach, and it's a natural antioxidant. Get curious, Denver. Head to Natural Grocers. Grab your free 3-day Ultra Cur trial. No strings attached. Wondered about the research? Get the lowdown at getultranow.com. That's getultranow.com. Frank, we'll get to your calls in a second. We'll get to all these text messages. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS.
Say goodbye to clutter and hello to convenience when you experience organization transformation in your home. Roll 'em Out Shelves, your clutter transformation experts, create affordable Colorado-crafted organized storage solutions. These custom options will maximize and organize your kitchen and bath storage as Roll 'em Out Shelves carefully designs and builds roll-out drawers to fit your space perfectly to clear the clutter. Contact owners Joyce and Brent at Roll 'em Out Shelves to schedule your free in-home estimate today.
All right, back at it. We've got one line open. We're going to get to Frank and Joe just in a second. A whole lot of text messages on this question. We're discussing the article in Fox. Largest ever COVID vaccine study links shot to small increase in heart and brain conditions. Are you glad you got the vax? Are you glad you didn't get the vax? Do you regret getting the vax? Do you think it's important for us to vax our kids? Do you think that we've, as a society, really dealt with what happened during COVID? I don't think there were. I think Bill and I agree on a lot of this, that there was a lot of moralizing around the COVID issue that was unnecessary, right? Like you're going to kill people if you walk down the wrong way down an aisle. The kicking of moms with 2-year-olds off of airplanes because their 2-year-old didn't want to put on a mask. The effort to try to keep kids another year out of school after that first spring, right? Like I remember first going through that, and we're like, all right, we'll make it kind of fun. It was spring when they kind of shut everything down. I think it was like April of, 2020? And kids did school outside, and let's try the online school and all that stuff. But by the time we got around to the fall, and there were efforts to continue to keep kids out of schools, and even later than that, in Chicago, I remember the teachers unions wanting to keep kids in masks and stuff like that. There was a ton of moralizing around it. So this is an issue I don't think we've ever fully dealt with. No one really paid electoral prices. Should they have? Billy, I appreciate your measured approach to the conversation. My wife and I both got the shots, but after getting our kids the original shot, we decided not to continue with the kids. I have not gotten a booster in a while and may not get more shots.
Well, I totally agree with that. And I got the first 2 boosters, and I have not gotten the one since. And again, that's because of the difficult phrase to use, but the evolutionary cycle of the virus.
Yeah, right.
And we talked about this a little bit. And again, you're absolutely right. There's way too much moralizing about this and not enough of the sciencing. Yeah. I can't say it out loud, but because we're on the air and the FCC will be mad. But Matt Damon, when he's in The Martian, he has this line about, I am going to blank, I'm going to science the blank out of this.
Yeah, right.
And that's basically what it is we didn't do that. We emotioned the blank out of this. And some of the science, it was awful as far as how it talked to us. And the virus, COVID, should be on its life cycle long-term less and less virulent because a virus doesn't want to kill its host. That is an incredibly ineffective virus because the virus needs the host to spread. Unless you're going to do the alien thing and like pop something out of your chest and the thing goes and eats something else. That's the only way this works, to have that kind of symbiotic relationship. The only way it works is to keep your host alive so that it walks around and allows you to spread. The viruses are very ineffective if they start killing things off because you lose the spread. So we would expect long-term that COVID would be less and less virulent. It will become much like a mild form of a cold or a flu. We will almost not notice it anymore. We'll still be running in the population, yes, but that's because it's a cousin of the cold and the flu virus.
1108 text message. I golf with a large league of women. Most of them took the shot. I have had COVID twice. First 3 days were rough, but I survived. Several of my golf friends who had all the shots and boosters have had COVID at least twice, some 3 times. 2 of them had pneumonia and were very sick in the hospital. Anecdotal, maybe, but I'll take my chances. Billy, no one died from COVID. Oh, we got that one already.
Yeah. And that's interesting, the idea of the pneumonia. The question would be, what would have been the impact on the pneumonia if they did not have the virus? Right. Because we were seeing the people that went into the hospitals that had either pre-existing conditions or came in with things like pneumonia or heart problems that had COVID. They were dying at almost 10 times the rate of the people that were vaccinated.
Let me clarify you. If you choose to leave your job because you are being threatened, the choice is driven by coercion. Yes, you understand the meaning of the word choice. Not sure if you understand context. Being given a choice to live or die is no choice at all. Please, don't say yes by it is.
The idea, again, the people are mad about the idea that at their job, they were told to get a vaccine or go get a different job. That happens all the time. There are times in which there are changes for qualifications for your job. In order to be a teacher, you have to have certain ongoing learning. If you don't achieve that, those learning hours, if you don't spend time in the classroom, you lose your teacher's license. That's a choice. Now, do the schools have to do that? No. Same thing with lawyers. There's upkeep as far as certain things you have to do in order to maintain your law license. Same thing. Is that the government coming in and telling you all these sorts of, no. That is the individual
I
business.
guess the difference, and let's go to Frank here in just a second, but I would say the difference is when they started out in that job, this was not made clear, and people had real medical concerns about the vaccination, the COVID vaccination. And all of a sudden it's a new thing thrown onto you that you weren't expecting. And people who had legitimate concerns were forced to make a decision between keeping their job or protecting their health.
Yeah. Do you know how many times my job has come to me and given me the Darth Vader offer? It's like, and that comes from Return of the Jedi, where Darth Vader looks at Lando Calrissian and says, I've altered the deal, pray I don't alter it further. How many times has my job come to me and gone, guess what? You now are responsible for A, B, and C. You're now doing E and F. And guess what? You're not getting any more money for it either. And your choice. You can stay here and continue to take the paycheck, or you can leave. I've had that happen dozens of times. So the idea that the job comes in and says, hey, here's a new requirement. Go get another job. We hear this all the time, that if you don't want to do this, you don't want to play by those rules, get another job. Why is this different?
I think it's a little tougher for nurses because there's not a lot of other options. Let's go to Frank, line 1. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Frank.
Good morning.
Morning.
The pandemic revealed so much about ourselves, about viruses, about our enemies, about our institutions that are supposed to help us and protect us, both their strengths and their weaknesses, and their autocratic attitude of pretending to know all and not admitting that they did not know all. Billy, I was interested that you did a deep dive into viruses. That was just the tip of the iceberg. Viruses have been around for thousands of years before man, and they will be here after we're gone. And, we still continue to learn about them. One of the big things I think we've got going for us now is the quickness of the media that can tell us what the latest verifiable knowledge is. However, the downside of that are the spin agents in the media that want to politicize everything. To me, this is just a call for more communication and cooperation between the parties to try to come to verifiable truths, and hopefully X may be a vector for that. But, I think these people continue to retreat into their parties, and I think the big light that this shines on everything and should shine for both parties to look at is the research done into virology by people and institutions like Fauci has run, and the Chinese as well, the Wuhan labs, and this gain of function research, which in one sense can be much more dangerous than any nuclear bomb. I mean, with the potential. This pandemic was bad enough, but think about a virus that was unleashed that was multiple times more lethal than this one. So we've got a lot to learn. We've got a lot of the verifiable truth that needs to be brought out by our news media. Appreciate you guys bringing this type of stuff and offering the forum for us. But books will continue to be written on this for a number of years going forward, and we'll face new challenges if there's no limits placed on either our research or Chinese research into these biological agents.
Frank, I appreciate it. Thanks so much for the call.
Yeah,
text message 5600. I did not get the jab because I knew it was harmful and ineffective. If you got the jab, you had to sign a liability waiver. That means it was harmful and it didn't work.
You do that all the time.
Sheeple.
They do that all the time, though. I mean, the number of liability waivers that you sign in your daily life. Come on. If you read that cell phone liability waiver, there's actually a computer game company that about 7 years ago, inside their liability waiver, said that you're signing over your soul to us.
Yeah.
They then released about 6 months later and said, hey guys, you didn't read this. And he goes, but we're nice and we're going to release all your souls back to you.
Back to you. Joe Littleton, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Joe.
Morning.
Well, good morning to you too. I'm going to try to explain this best I can, and the points will come out as I say it. I have an adult son been in the Navy, so he's a tough guy, pretty tough guy. Okay, so he took a medicine, and it was like an over-the-counter type thing, and he ended up with what they call vasculitis, and that's where it attacks your vessels, your blood vessels, and they swell, and that can go into not only the outside of your body, but the inside of your body, and it can shut down your organs. Well, he started noticing these little sores, and he thought, what in the world's on my legs? Had an allergy to it, went in. These things got as bigger than a 50-cent piece. Open wounds. He went through 6 to 9 months of help. I've never seen anything like this in my life. It looked like shrapnel, huge shrapnel all over his body here. So then he went to a new job. He got, after the doctors helped him get better, thank God. He went in and he got a new job, and they said he had to take these shots. Well, I looked it up, and it said many of these shots can cause that. Yeah. You have to be exceedingly careful what you put in your body.
Yeah, I agree with
that. I almost
that.
lost my son.
Wow. Wow. I'm glad you guys were able to catch that and stay on top of that. Thanks so much for the phone call, Joe.
Oh, that's scary.
It is scary.
It's really scary.
Joe's line's open, 303-696-1971. Dwayne, we'll get to you in just a second. When it comes to creating the perfect kitchen or bathroom countertop, it's all about understanding the client's needs and personal style. That's why communication is key. Mitch Floria is the master craftsman with the Art of Granite and works with his team of highly skilled craftsmen, each with their own unique expertise to bring your vision to life. From single residential installations to large-scale projects, Mitch and his team at the Art of Granite will listen to you and get you what you need. Mitch provides granite, marble, quartz, and other materials from his own warehouse in Denver West at wholesale prices with no markup, so you can get the most for your budget. I've visited Mitch, a beautiful show house in Denver West, and I got to tell you, this guy loves America. He's originally from Romania, fled communism there, came to America the right way, loves this country. He's got a framed copy of the Constitution and Declaration of Independence right next to his desk. Big bald eagle right on top of his desk, too. Mention KNUS and receive a bathroom countertop free with the purchase of your fantastic new kitchen countertops, or get a kitchen and bathroom sink free with the purchase of any countertop package. Schedule a consultation with Mitch and visit his beautiful showroom in Denver West, or call Mitch at 303-386-5919, or you can visit his website at theartofgranite.com and start dreaming about your countertops. That's theartofgranite.com. Dwayne, we'll get to you in just a second. Lots of text messages, totally different to be required to get something injected into your body versus ongoing training and not showing up on a snow day to keep your job. A response to Billy on that issue. Would like to hear from you, where we're talking about this Fox News article, largest ever COVID vaccine study links shot to small increase in heart and brain conditions. Give us a call, 303-696-1971. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS.
At this hour in Brussels, I'm Alex Cadier. Here are the top stories we're following. As the race for president heats up, we're about to find out which candidates are raising the most money. Campaigns are set to report their fundraising for January to the Federal Election Commission. So far, they've raised a combined $400 million. Benji Heyer has more from Washington.
This is a routine procedure. Committees that have received contributions or made expenditures of at least $100,000 during the 2024 presidential election cycle must file these monthly reports. That includes the main candidates, so President Joe Biden, former President Donald Trump, and his rival for the Republican Party's nomination, Nikki Haley, plus still several independent or third-party outsiders, all vying for the Oval Office.
Polish farmers are set to ramp up protests at the Ukrainian border, blocking virtually all traffic between the two countries. The protesters say unfair competition from abroad, particularly from Ukraine, and restrictive rules imposed by the European Union have threatened their livelihoods. Ukraine says the protests will hurt its economy and hinder its war effort. Kyiv also claimed that Ukrainian exports through Eastern Europe have not damaged European markets. The Polish government has urged protesters not to disrupt Ukraine's war efforts and is negotiating a deal with Kyiv to limit Ukrainian imports into Poland. And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm Alex Cadier in Brussels on Salem News Channel.
Well, this has probably been the biggest text message response we've ever had on any issue on this show. Largest ever COVID vaccine study links shot to small increase in heart and brain conditions. We asked our listeners, are you glad you got the vax? Are you glad you didn't get the vax? Did you get the vax and regret it? Are you going to vax your kids? All right, let's go to Frank in Golden. You're on the Jeff and Bill show, 710 KNUS. Good morning, Frank.
Hey, guys. Hey, I got the vax and I got a booster. I never had COVID and I was really exposed many, many, many times, but I think I just have a good immune system is what it amounts to. But, and I'm thankful for that. But I think that so many people who got the vax don't have any idea how bad it could have gotten if they didn't. And I'd like to see what any of these studies. I'm sure, the vax was hurried and it was rushed, and that's fine because it needed to be. And I'd like to see what any of these studies would look like if you had done it to the smallpox vaccine or anything else, or for that matter, the seasonal flu vaccine, which, the influenza that we vaccinate against right now, which is extremely effective, is basically the same strain and remnants DNA-wise of the original Spanish flu. There's an NPR show about this. It was absolutely amazing, which is exactly the path that COVID's going down, and going down quicker because of the vaccine. I just don't, I wouldn't get further vaccinated, but, to think that it wasn't part of the greater good is just ignorant.
Frank, why wouldn't you get further vaccinated on COVID?
Because I think that I have shown, at least to myself, that I have a weird immunity to it. I don't know why, but I've been so exposed over and over before the vaccine and after the vaccine. I just don't get it. I haven't gotten it, and I don't get sick generally. I mean, it's not, I'm just lucky. I'm blessed. I don't, whatever. I run between the raindrops, and I should knock on wood, because one's going to get me eventually, but so far so good. I just don't give her.
Frank, I want to get your reaction to this text message. Essentially, after all this, never trust the government. There was a lot of things that were said that were wrong about this, a lot of moralizing. In your perspective, what happens next when a big pandemic hits?
This is what scares me, is that the reaction, this was kind of like a training wheels trial run pandemic. And in the next one, it could be much worse based on how people react to this one. There's a large segment of society who would not get shot, would not trust the government, would not do anything to help tamp down the effects of a bigger, worse pandemic. And it's not, look, historically, the Spanish flu was a much bigger, worse pandemic, and it tore through things. I mean, it was like an unsuppressible wildfire. And the next one could look just like that. And if we rushed a vaccine to try to tamp it down, and it was effective, although with some small population slice, it caused problems, would people not get vaccinated and just let it kill people, let it tear it all up?
Frank,
just like the Spanish flu.
Frank, I appreciate the call. Thanks so much, Frank from Golden. As we wrap up this conversation, Bill, I think going back to what we said really early on, that science is written in pencil. It's got to be able to change. This idea that Fauci just showed up with dictates on stone, and that everybody had to abide by him, and then when you didn't, there was this moralizing that took place around it. As Frank said, I think it's going to be a big problem. I don't just blame, though, the people that are suspicious of the government after this.
No, I also roll in the journalists. I roll in you guys in the media, because you either ran around and go, oh, there's not a big deal, or our hair's on fire, we're all going to die. And none of it was accurate, in part because the people that were delivering the news to you didn't understand the science in the first place. They were trying to tell you a story they couldn't follow. That's the problem. I mean, top to bottom, we messed it up. We acted like morons. You see how we did see the social distancing? We all told everybody to stay home. And then what did we do? We all went and stood in line in the grocery store. We were stupid.
A wild first 2 hours on the Jeff and Bill Show. You're not going to want to miss it. When we come back, you're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
8 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show. It is Tuesday, February 20th, and the sun is shining.
Yeah, so many of you have a shortened week because we were off for President's Day.
Right.
We have a studio audience here today with us as well because of people not being in school.
That's
Jeff
right.
brought his kids in studio. It's
my
wonderful.
kids love it's in our blood. My parents were both on radio, and I had two boys that were willing to get up at 4:30 this morning on their day off and come in because they've got a teacher in service.
And I'm still, I'm just saying there is some therapy and there's some things you can do to break this. So just before they follow you down the dark path,
this generational sin of being involved in
I'm
radio.
saying you have a chance here, sir, to break the cycle. You have a shot. It's all on you.
All right, let's get to Blake Olson with the news. Good morning, Blake.
Good morning, Jeff. Good morning to the Hunt kids. That's awesome. 40 degrees and partly cloudy in Denver, expecting highs in the low 60s. Another beautiful day today on the way. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story, a Los Angeles woman is being detained in Russia after being accused of treason. Russian authorities allege the 33-year-old dual national raised funds in support of Ukraine. A statement also said the unidentified woman repeatedly took part in public actions in support of the Kiev regime in the United States. A suspect in the UCCS shooting is headed to court in just hours. Colorado Springs Police Chief Adrian Vasquez.
The best case, the tightest case that we possibly can. Murder cases like this, it really is very critical that we dot every I and cross every T and make sure that investigation is as tight as possible.
Police arrested 25-year-old student Nicholas Jordan Monday morning, 3 miles from the University of Colorado Springs. He's accused of opening fire inside a dorm Friday, killing Samuel Knopp of Parker and Seeley Montgomery of Pueblo. Jordan's court appearance is set for 1:30 today, with more information expected to come this afternoon. A man is recovering in the hospital after he was hit by a car while helping a stranded driver in Aurora. It happened near South Parker Road in Hamden, where Christopher Pedroza was helping put gas in a car that had run out of fuel. That's when a truck slammed into the car and Pedroza, leaving him thankfully with broken bones and gashes, and didn't kill him. He had plenty of bruises. The driver who hit him was cited for careless driving and causing bodily injury. Researchers in Aurora say taking antidepressants like Prozac while pregnant can be risky. Sarah Lee Kessler with more.
A new study published in the journal Nature Communications shows that antidepressants like Prozac that raise serotonin levels can hinder a fetus's brain development and possibly cause mental disorders later in life. The study's researchers say those medications can affect how the brain learns and adjusts, but they also say the med should not be discontinued or changed without consulting with a prescribing doctor.
All right, Will Byron takes the checkered flag in the Daytona 500 on Monday. The Avalanche back in action. They take on the Canucks tonight, going for 2 straight. Nuggets and the Wizards Thursday night. CSU takes on New Mexico tomorrow night in college hoops. 36 in Lakewood, 35 in Castle Rock, 40 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Well, now there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts. Talk back to your favorite local hosts.
At the tone, leave a message.
Call the show. Set your alarm. Enter contests and win prizes. All in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today.
All right, so I know yesterday was a holiday. It was President's Day, but I made a mistake. I actually missed what should be a major holiday.
What? It's not my birthday.
15 years ago, Rick Santelli launched the Tea Party with a rant on the floor of the Chicago Stock Exchange. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
We're thinking of having a Chicago Tea Party in July. All you capitalists that want to show up to Lake Michigan, I'm going to start organizing.
What are you dumping in? What are you dumping in this time? Houses,
We're going
cars?
to be dumping in some derivative securities. What do you think about that?
Some derivative securities. Rick Santelli, who covers the bond markets at the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, had seen enough of Washington policymakers and beginning to funnel what would be trillions of dollars to bail out various sectors that had been hit during the financial crisis. So remember, this is 2009, just after the 2008 financial crisis. Pushed to the brink, Santelli, speaking on the Squawk Box show, exploded into a rant resembling the famous "I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore" diatribe from the character Howard Beale in the 1976 movie Network. As he closed the segment, he turned to traders on the floor and asked them if they would like to bail out their neighbors who spent too much money on their homes. A chorus of no ensued. Earlier in the segment, he suggested he and some other Chicagoans planned that summer to throw a tea party to show their anger. Closing, he turned to the camera and asked, "President Obama, are you listening?" Explosive events would follow. Santelli's urging took hold, with millions of U.S. voters forming multiple Tea Party affiliations across the country that helped elect numerous candidates and changed the conversation of American politics. Much has changed since then. Santelli believes most of it, at least in terms of public awareness and activism, has been good. That famous speech, I remember that, and I was watching it that day, and I posted on Facebook back then that I love the idea of a tea party. So here's my question to the callers of 710 KNUS, and feel free to text in. The Republican Party has changed dramatically since then. So you had the rise of Sarah Palin, right? The kind of launch and start of Sarah Palin in the McCain campaign. That was 2008. By 2009, you have Rick Santelli, calling for a Tea Party. By 2010, the Tea Party had won a bunch of elections all across the country. Then you kind of had this weird dip back down with Mitt Romney back into the kind of old days of the Republican Party. But it has never been the same since. The whole George W. Bush, George H.W. Bush, even Ronald Reagan wing of the Republican Party is gone. And the Tea Party is the most dominant force, which then became, MAGA and kind of Trump. So is that good for the Republican Party? I'd love to hear from you. 303-696-1971 or text us on the 710 KNUS app. Has been the change and the embrace of the Tea Party. 15 years ago, Rick Santelli on the floor of the Chicago Mercantile Stock Exchange. Has that been good since then? Let's go to Dwayne, line 3, Divide, Colorado. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, 710 KNUS. Good morning, Dwayne.
Good morning, gentlemen. And I'd like to sit there and say that, yes, the Tea Party initially had a good run going for it.
Yeah.
But much like any other situation where we have a group of people trying to do good, all of a sudden you have the one black sheep that sits there and gets the media attention, and it takes a solid idea and destroys it 5 seconds in the opposition media.
Who's that?
Well, you had the guys with the tricorn hats and the overzealous types that were getting up in front of different media types. More of the faceless individuals.
Yeah.
Are the core principles and values of the Tea Party important? Yes. But when you have Nancy Pelosi, and that she's such a kind and open-hearted person when she was, Speaker of the House, she was so warm and accepting of other ideas.
And we got to pass bills to see what's in them, right?
Well, amongst other things, the fact that when I lived in Brooklyn, I sat there and saw people at the social clubs with the bent noses, and I was like, they got nothing on Pelosi.
That woman there.
Dwayne, here's a question I got for you. When I grew up, when I first kind of entered into politics, I would say late 90s, right?
Mm-hmm.
You had the run up to George W. Bush. You had what I would call in Colorado the Cherry Hills Republicans. They dominated the leadership of the party. The last guy we really had that was like that was Walker Stapleton. Ever since then, they've disappeared. And in fact, as someone who's probably in the center of the conservative movement in Colorado, they're generally nowhere to be found right now. That kind of country club, Chamber of Commerce Republican has essentially left the movement. And you now have Dave Williams. You've got a far more grassroots oriented Republican Party and conservative movement in Colorado. Do you think that's been good for the party?
That's been absolutely devastating. When we had Senator Armstrong and all in Colorado back in
Hank
the 80s.
Brown. Yep. Those guys. Yeah. Sure.
And even Tom Tancredi, who during the 9/11 thing did take his entire foot, ankle, knee, shoulder on some of the comments he made about one of the situations on 9/11. But we had solid and firm explanations of everything. When Mr. Sangenberger lopped off on Saturday, he spoke with Mike Rosen, who was definitely probably the best voice for Colorado as far as conservatism goes. When we lost Mr. Rosen, we lost a lot of ability for everything. And the tribalism and the rhetoric that is so heated right now, I think a lot of people just sit there and let the people yell. And they may be conservative, but they tend to be far more quiet these days.
Dwayne, here's my question back to you on this, though. I worked for Mitt Romney in 2012. Mitt Romney lost.
I'm so sorry.
Mitt Romney lost pretty big to Barack Obama. And I think that type of Republican likely would have lost again to Hillary Clinton. It was the coalition that Donald Trump was able to build around blue collar conservatives. Back then, they I don't think they would call themselves conservatives, but Rick Santorum wrote about this prior to Donald Trump embracing it. And Rick will tell you the story that Donald Trump called Rick Santorum to his office to discuss his book, Blue Collar Conservatism. And he walks in the room and Donald Trump goes, "I read your book, Rick." And Rick goes, "You didn't read my book." And he goes, "No, I did." The idea of blue collar and the forgotten man in Pennsylvania and Ohio and Michigan. And Donald Trump built a coalition in 2016 that got him to victory that I don't think the old school Republicans could have built. And Hillary Clinton would have been the president in 2016. What do you think about that?
Well, the saddest problem was, and I was a Reagan supporter, so I'm a little older than you, and I supported Reagan in all of his items. And when they had the situation in Libya, he did the smart thing. He didn't stay for a ground war with a bunch of people. He pulled out. And we moved on to different items. I tried to explain to my son, he's 13. He goes, "What was it like in the 80s?" I said, under Reagan, all of a sudden, everything was released and you could do anything. And there were no ways of being stopped. And ideas became, and Apple blossomed, and other people came up. And that kind of energy and that kind of conservatism about let's make things happen all of a sudden became, well, I don't want to be offensive. And I'm so sick and tired of the Colorado Republican Party. We need to play by rules. We've got gangs in the Democratic Party, you know, the leather jackets, the knives, and everything else, metaphorically. And we're sitting there trying to stand up and go, well, maybe we can invite them over for cake and pie and milk. No, we're in a battle, and we need to sit there and establish what our items are, where we stand, and what issues. Because on the issues, we will absolutely destroy any argument that the liberals have. But we're not having anyone who has a backbone and can explain it efficiently before all of a sudden, I'm going to go shoot this copier machine and show that I'm in. It's like, no, we don't need people like
Dwayne,
you.
Two-layered question for you. First one is, do you think that core Tea Party message has any effectiveness or resonance today? And when you talk about the idea of the ideas and information that is stronger inside the Republican Party, I would like you to address, it's my opinion that the GOP has gotten away from arguing ideas and they argue grievance. And I think that's a weakness. Would you agree? So first, on the first point,
1,000%,
yeah,
1,000%.
Wow,
they're all
alrighty.
wearing these little pink satin panties, going, "We need this because we." No, we don't have anybody anymore. The Eisenhowers and the men who sat there and stood up for items have absolutely been decimated in the Republican Party.
Now, can we use the ideas that were contained inside of that Tea Party message? And would that message still be effective today, or has the time passed for those words to resonate with people? Uh-oh.
Nope.
Oh, no.
Lost Dwayne.
There he is. There you are, Dwayne.
The two guys from Texas, the one with the eye patch. I'm sorry, I cannot remember.
Dan
his
Crenshaw.
name.
Yeah, Crenshaw.
Yep.
Mr. Crenshaw.
Good podcast too, though. Wow.
Okay. He had a great fire, and then all of a sudden he said one thing, and he was knocked off the main stage. But he still has core values that are Tea Party related. And now the new gentleman, I'm raising a lot of aggravation and all, Congressman Roy. Those two guys still hold the torch. Can we get the rest of these people to run behind it? Or are we all going to stand back and just sit there and say, okay, whatever you want. We just want to get along. I am so sick and tired of that aspect of, the Republican Party. We just want to get along. And it's like, well, they didn't do my values of what I wanted, so I'm not going to vote for them. Well, you got Senator Bennett. If you don't stand for other items, you're going to sit there and lose. And Colorado is going to continue to lose. Denver, I don't know what you guys are going to do. Colorado Springs, they're sitting there saying, well, maybe we'll accept a few of these people down here for Sanctuary City. I'm like, I've lived in Salvador, Colombia, and Saipan and Guam over all my years. And believe me, you don't want to be in Salvador. You don't want to be in Colombia, because right now, what we have in the United States is a third world country at the borders. And then we have Elon Musk going, I think Mars is going to be a pretty good idea. And I like the fact that, X is an African-American business. I like that. But we need to sit there and start having a set of values. Somebody needs to take a stick, draw it in the ground, and go, I'm sorry, 30,000 Chinese males between 20 and 30 years old. We don't need them in America.
Dwayne, I appreciate the call. Thanks so much. Dwayne's line's open, 303-696-1971. It's the 15th year anniversary, 15th plus 1 day. Yesterday, Rick Santelli goes to the floor of the Chicago Mercantile Exchange and essentially launches the Tea Party. Now, I was at the convention in 2008, the McCain-Palin convention, RNC. Here's the question that I have. I mean, that wing of the Republican Party, the McCains, the Romneys, the Bushes, are gone. They're gone. Now, that's a little different than I think the Armstrongs and the Hank Browns, but they were generally there. Academic, thoughtful, engaged. I was in a suite at the 2008 convention when Sarah Palin walked out, and there was so much emotion behind her, tears flowing down from people's faces there. There was so much excitement around Palin, right? Now, irregardless of her career and what's happened since then in her personal life, all that stuff. But when she first showed up in 2008, there was a lot of excitement around her. 2009, Santelli launches Tea Party. 2010, all these electoral victories, right? They sweep the House, they sweep the Senate. A lot of success there. That then moves into MAGA. And so you have a Republican Party that doesn't look anything like the 90s Republican Party.
Oh, yeah.
It is totally different. In fact, I mean, Mitt Romney, in my opinion, is one step from being a Democrat. I mean, he seems to have drifted all the way over to that
Liz
side.
Cheney is a wonderful example. Liz Cheney. You go back to 2017 and even 2015, 2017, she's the golden child. She is the next big thing. She is the person that is waiting in the wings that really has a good shot at getting onto that presidential stage and being a major player in the primary. Now she is persona non grata, and she's not even allowed to go to a local.
It was my job on the
meeting.
Romney campaign to pick those types of surrogates up at the airport. I go out to DIA, pick Liz Cheney up, and drive her around, give her the state of the race in Colorado. Here are the issues we're facing. This is what we're talking about. And this is what we want you to say at this rally or something. I did it for Marco Rubio. But Liz Cheney there was a lot of energy and excitement around her.
Oh, and she is, as a candidate, I mean, just sitting on the sidelines and looking at what she brings to the table. As a potential GOP candidate, she is devastating against Democrats because of her history, because of her policies, because of where she sits, and because of her brain. She's really intelligent and she's really good at communicating. And I look at her as, if I was on the Democrat side of the aisle, if I have to be put into a situation where I have to debate against her, I'm scared. She is scary to go against in those type of situations. And I look at her as, she may have a disagreement with certain people on the team, but she, for me, is one of those star players on the team. And you don't trade them because you went sideways against him for a minute or two. I mean, we may go back to Josh McDaniels and changing over a quarterback just because they didn't get along. I'm like, God, that didn't work out so well. That was a really bad idea. And I see the same choice here. I see, not necessarily, it may not be a star quarterback, but at least a running back, a wide receiver, a great defensive lineman, and we've kicked her off the team.
Here's a text message that I fundamentally disagree with. Sarah Palin is the reason McCain lost.
Ooh, that's interesting. Colin, tell us about that. That's interesting.
I disagree with that because I think what you had in 2012 against Barack Obama was an effort to run this old Republican Party that didn't have the Tea Party connection. And I'm looking at the Electoral College votes. So Barack Obama wins 365 in 2008. He wins 332 in 2012. So a little bit more in 2008. I thought what I saw at the convention in 2008 was a Republican Party energized by Sarah Palin and moving away from the John McCains.
That's interesting. Now, the filter that I kind of look at is, I see the McCain-Palin dynamic, and what I see is in the current White House, I see the same dynamic. I see the Democrats trying to repeat that, and it was effective for them. But it was old white guy, young woman, happened to be, a young minority woman.
Yeah.
But that was supposed to be the balance. It was going to be the old statesman and the hard charging, young, vibrant, and that was the idea. And I see the same dynamic. It's not exactly the same, but from surface, I see them playing the same game as far as trying to assemble that same ticket. And I think Donald Trump is playing the same game right now when he's looking for a Veep. I think he's looking for someone that is younger. Yep, I think he's absolutely looking for that. Yeah.
So again, 15-year anniversary of the launch of the Tea Party. Rick Santelli, I'd love to hear from you as to whether or not you think the Republican Party is better as a result of the shift that's taken place in the last 15 years towards a more grassroots-oriented, more blue-collar conservatism Republican Party, and kind of pushing out the country club guys, the Walker Stapletons, the Bushes. It is just a fundamental, any way you slice it, the John McCains, the Mitt Romneys, the Liz Cheneys, that version of the Republican Party is gone as we sit here in February of 2024. Good for Republicans. You can make the argument that that type of Republican would have lost to Hillary Clinton in 2016. But you can also make the argument that Republicans have not been that successful since then. And maybe that's to our cost. So I'd love to hear from you at 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971. If Palin is so successful and wonderful, why did she lose in her own home state? Yeah, I mean, good question. Republicans keep losing since then, don't they? Yeah, give us a call. Give us a text, 303-696-1971. In the meantime, friends, I got to tell you, this is the time of year to enjoy your life. Stop letting that pain in your joints keep you from doing what you want to do this spring. Call QC Kinetics now. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in regenerative medicine. I'm talking lasting joint pain relief with no surgery, no drugs, and no downtime. It's a fact. QC Kinetics is literally transforming lives. Their advanced treatments harness your own body's ability to restore and repair damaged joint tissue. Pro athletes have been doing this for decades, but now this life-changing treatment is available for you. So you can walk and run and climb stairs and play golf and move again pain-free. No pain pills, no risky surgery. This is an all-natural solution. QC Kinetics has tens of thousands of satisfied patients who have reclaimed their mobility. Take action now and live your best life this spring and summer. It's a great use of your tax refund check. By the way, call QC Kinetics for a free consultation, 303-900-8986. That's 303-900-8986, 303-900-8986. Ben, we're going to get to you in just a second. Stick around. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS.
Say goodbye to clutter and hello to convenience when you experience organization transformation in your home. Roll 'em Out Shelves, your clutter transformation experts, create affordable Colorado-crafted organized storage solutions. These custom options will maximize and organize your kitchen and bath storage as Roll 'em Out Shelves carefully designs and builds roll-out drawers to fit your space perfectly. To clear the clutter, contact owners Joyce and Brent at Roll 'em Out Shelves to schedule your free in-home estimate today.
All right, 15 years ago yesterday, Rick Santelli down on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange does this speech and kicks off the rise of the Tea Party.
We're thinking of having a Chicago Tea Party in July. All you capitalists that want to show up to Lake Michigan, I'm going to start organizing.
What are you dumping in? What are you dumping in this time? Housing,
I'm going
cars?
to be dumping in some derivative securities. What do you think about
That last part always gets me. So my question to you, since then, the Republican Party and the conservative movement has changed in major ways. Gone are the Bush days, gone are the Romney days, gone are the McCain days. And I'm going to throw this out there, and then we'll get to Ben. You've been waiting the longest. You're up first. I served as coalitions director for Mitt Romney. It was our job to try to go convince the Hispanic community and the Black community to vote for Mitt Romney. Never going to happen. And they often said, well, very similar values. The conservative movement has very similar values to the kind of Hispanic pro-family values, that type of stuff. I actually think Donald Trump has the best opportunity to break into the Black and Hispanic communities than any Republican for the last 25, 30 years, maybe going back to Reagan. So it has changed, and it's going to open up. Look, the country club Republicans are gone. I think there's a downside. I think there's a very serious downside to it. I think that's why the Colorado Republican Party has problems fundraising right now. And you obviously want them on the bus. I'd rather have them on our team than on the other team. But I think that kind of Bush, McCain, who was the guy that ran in 96 against Clinton? Bob Dole.
Oh, yeah, Bob Dole.
Had no chance of breaking into the Black and Hispanic communities. I think Bush has a better option, or Trump has a better opportunity. Let's go to Ben in Morrison. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Ben.
Morning.
Morning. How's it going?
Great. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I think it's been a detriment to the GOP to move in this direction.
Yeah.
Interesting.
You guys keep losing popular votes consistently, over and over and over again. Like most people, you look kind of daffy as a party when you support a lot of this stuff. Like there's come all these things that have come out of this, alternative facts where you can't acknowledge like objective realities anymore. You know, a fact gets presented like, "Whoa, where'd you hear that, CNN?" It's like, it's still the fact. It doesn't matter if CNN presented it because they're quoting something from, you know, the Bureau of Labor Statistics or, you know, Energy Information Organization.
Ben, do you think a Walker Stapleton could win in Colorado right now?
No, I don't think any Republican's going to win in Colorado right now just due to demographics. I think you're going to have someone that's incredibly moderate, maybe someone along the lines of, you know, like a more moderate version of like a Jason Crow, but on the Republican side of things, maybe someone with former military experience, someone sensible, who's kind of, you know, not a Looney Tunes, not a Lauren Boebert.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thanks for the call, Ben. Ben from Morrison. His line's open 303-696-1971. Let's go to Frank in Evergreen. Go ahead, Frank. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning.
First of all, is there any chance I get my money back from Romney?
Yeah.
Yes, you can, Frank, but it comes in Heinz ketchup. That's the problem.
Yeah, what a disappointment. Anyway, I loved his binder of women, by the way. That was
I remember that.
You know,
I remember having to deal
Democrats-
with that, and I had to deal with the 47% comment, which he could not get past. That sunk the campaign. And I was supposed to be on the Colorado team that was going to travel to whatever state there may be a recount in or something like that. So I had my bags packed, and they had chartered a plane that was going to be at Centennial and all that stuff. And by I don't even think our polls had closed in Colorado, and we had lost the presidential campaign. So I'm not sure that route of the 90s, early 2000s Republicans could win, because they couldn't win in 2012, but Donald Trump could win in 2016.
No, it's ancient history. I mean, there's two sides of the problem. Problem number one is the Democrats leadership are evil. They will do anything to win. People who vote for the Democrats don't have a clue what's going on in the world, and they're zombies, basically. So that's one part of the problem. The other part of the problem is that when Trump came along, one of the things I remember him saying is, I will teach you how to win. That's the problem. The Republicans lost the ability or knowledge of how to win. And Trump is slowly but surely educating them. But anyway, back to the conservative thing.
Well, actually, hang on a sec there, Frank. Talk to me about the winning that Trump is teaching them to win.
18 we
I can't let
lost,
that
20
go.
we lost. We lost all the special elections in Georgia. and
where's the winning?
Okay, let me tell you about that, Billy.
Yeah, please.
I realized that, when, here's the thing. When you repeat a lie from CNN, it doesn't become truth, okay? Yes, the last couple elections, the national elections, were not the best for the Republicans. And how you can tag that on Trump is beyond my comprehension, really. Now, I'm sure he has a piece of it, but here's the truth. The truth is that Trump got rid of abortion as a national issue. He's the guy that did it. Okay?
I disagree that it's not a national issue. I think that's incorrect.
Well, not a national. It's still an issue. It's going to be an issue.
But Roe v. Wade,
but you're correct. Where you're going with it, yes,
Frank's point, though, I don't think any other Republican would have stood behind Kavanaugh.
Oh my God, no.
The way Trump did.
I'm not sure about that. But...
And look at the ding dong we got running the Senate for the House for the Republicans. He's not running. He is a minority leader or whatever it is. But he's a ding dong, okay? And Trump was able to manipulate him to get what they needed out of it, the things they agreed on. And I think they did agree on that one. But the guy's hopeless. So blaming Trump for that, yeah, of course he's got a piece of it, but give me a break.
Frank, I will give you this. The most important thing in politics is winning. Let's say Republicans ballot harvest at the same level Democrats do, right? They go after it. They play the same game, which I think they need to. We can't just, I think it was a mistake during the last election. I was part of it too. Just show up, refuse to play the same way the Democrats do. Just show up day of. I think Charlie Kirk's now leading the effort to go, okay, if this is the way the game's going to be played, we're going to play it. And we're going to fight just as hard as you do. And if we'll legally ballot harvest just the same way you do. So if they play the game and we fight at the same level the Democrats do, and Donald Trump loses in 2024, do you think that he's finally done with in the conservative movement?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, they didn't do it legally. They did some legally and they did some illegally, as we're finding out now. And it's finally coming out now, the illegal parts. That everybody said didn't happen.
We're going to let that go, but I completely and totally disagree with you. But we're not going to have that argument today. It's not worth it. It's not worth going down that road. But yeah, no.
I'll just re-say what I said before. Just repeating a CNN lie doesn't make it true.
Yeah.
So
my question, I want to go back to this.
Yeah.
Though.
No, it's hopeless. The Republicans aren't going to pull it off. They aren't going to pull off the ballot harvesting. They don't know how to do it. Democrats have been doing this for 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
They have 40 years of experience of lying, cheating, and stealing to win elections. Republicans, it's not in their. The problem with Republicans, they have ethics and morals, and they say when they say something they want to do something, they actually try to do it. Democrats, they will blabber whatever they want to say, and then they don't do it. Not necessarily don't do it. They'll do whatever they want to do. We have a fundamental problem between the two parties, and that is the Republicans have ethics and morals, and the Democrats, or I'll call them the true party name, is the Communist Party of America, have no ethics and morals. They are evil. Anybody who crushes heads of babies is evil. I'm sorry.
Frank, I appreciate the call. Thanks so much. 303-696-1971. Yesterday was the 15th anniversary of the Tea Party speech by Rick Santelli down at the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. Here's the speech.
We're thinking of having a Chicago Tea Party in July. All you capitalists that want to show up to Lake Michigan, I'm going to start organizing.
What are you dumping in? What are you dumping in this time? Housing
We're going
cars?
to be dumping in some derivative securities. What do you think about that?
So Santelli's responding to all of this funding push that the Obama administration's doing. And it helped launch the Tea Party with Sarah Palin being on the ticket in 2008. So within those 2 years, the Republican Party dramatically changes and has not looked back since. My question to you, 303-696-1971, is that a good thing? Feel free to give us a call or text us. I'll get to the text messages in just a minute. Imagine effortlessly gliding open your cabinets and drawers to reveal neatly arranged shelves that showcase your belongings. With roll-em-out shelves, you'll easily access your pots, pans, and other essentials, eliminating chaos and increasing speed and functionality in your home. Roll-em-out shelves understands that every home storage needs are unique. Whether you're dealing with tight corners or expansive cabinets, your shelves will be custom built to maximize every inch of available space. Joyce and Brent Tolliver, the mom and son dynamic duo, leaves satisfied customers wherever they go, and they're all 5-star reviews confirm this. Here's what some of the overjoyed customers have said. Joyce replied to my initial email and scheduled the estimate quickly. Installation was quick and clean. The shelves are very sturdy and made better than most I've seen. Very, very happy customer. I have put this off for so long thinking it was going to be much more expensive. It wasn't. It was life-changing. Begin the affordable transformation in your home for less than $1,000 when Roll-em-out Shelves efficiently organizes your space with sturdy Baltic birch shelves built right here in Colorado and guaranteed for life. Call for your free in-home estimate today, 303-475-9601. That's 303-475-9601 or rollemoutshelves.com. Tell them Jeff sent you, rollemoutshelves.com. All right. There's no chance, this is from Tony from Denver, there's no chance that conservatives will basically connect with the black community. They play footsie with far-right nationalists. I've heard that critique since Bush was in office. Do you remember? Do you remember Kanye West in the Katrina reaction? George W. Bush hates black people.
That is one of, go back, and that is one of the best moments in television. And not because of what Kanye does, because of Mike Myers. Mike Myers standing there, and you see his face. He goes, uh-oh. I mean, in real time, you can see Mike thinking this through, and then you see him slightly move away from Kanye, kind of like, oh gosh, if the lightning's coming, I don't want to get hit.
Liz is done and will not be able to come back. You might want to consider doing a show on the power vacuum in the Republican Party that will ensue when Trump is gone.
Ooh, that's an interesting point.
It will
That's a
make
good idea.
Squid Games look like kindergarten playground. I don't know what Squid Games is.
You don't know Squid Games?
No, I don't.
You have not embraced the wonderful nature of the Korean entertainment on Netflix.
We don't have Netflix. We gave it up when they went crazy pro.
Yeah, see Squid Games is a Korean movie that was done. There are several episodes, TV show, serial, whatever you want to call it. You can binge them, whatever. And it basically is a game that brings a bunch of people to an island, and there are a series of challenges. And if you get to the end of the game, you win a bunch of money. However, not getting to the end of the game means you most likely are going home in a body bag. It is visually, it is wonderful. And the story they unveil and how they tell it, it is a wonderful story.
The Tea Party is about smaller government, less spending, laissez-faire government. MAGA is about one man.
That's good. I can get on board with that one. And I think that is a fallacy that hurts the MAGA movement to not take over the mantle of the Tea Party. I think they have changed the message, and I'm not sure it's positive.
Trump won in 2016. We're going to have to see if he can make it happen again this year.
But again, and to the credit of him winning, he did lose the popular vote. And that's one of those things that everybody talks about, the polls not working. the polls did say that Hillary Clinton was going to get more votes nationally. And that's what she did do.
Right.
The polls were wrong in certain areas, and we've seen that exacerbated.
But that national popular vote's like judging a football game by time of possession.
Oh yeah,
It just
yeah.
doesn't,
I get it.
doesn't
I get it.
matter. It's
Doesn't
an
matter.
indicator,
No,
but
yeah,
it
is.
doesn't matter.
And that's one of the flaws in the polling. And we're going to get into polling when we get closer to this, because oh boy, are we going to talk about? I will go nerd on all the fallacies and all the problems we have with our current polling. They're great for certain conversations in a snapshot in time. Do they really tell us anything deep? Not at all.
I was involved the last 16 years in the Republican Party at caucuses and conventions, but no more. The party has been hijacked by the radical right wing. A little criticism of Dave Williams and his supporters.
I'd love to have that conversation.
I remember early on in those years, in the kind of late 90s, early 2000s, there was a real strong push. We got to get more grassroots into engagement with the party. We can't just be country club Republicans. That was the critique. We're all country club Republicans. We got to get out of it. I grew up in Cherry Hills. I've heard that critique a lot. You're all a bunch of country club Republicans. Now the country club Republicans are gone.
Yeah,
they are totally out of the party. And some can say that's a good thing because maybe their values, like, the Bush, McCain, Romney values are gone, but so is their money. And that's an issue as well.
Yeah. Is the party better for it? Has the change been good? Is it stronger now?
Give us a call, 303-696-1971, or text us on the 710 KNUS app. Men, you've heard a lot about how treating low testosterone can improve your sleep, your workouts, your energy levels, and more. But I want to talk to you about your love drive, because low testosterone can have a significant impact on your desire for intimacy. And if you're in a relationship or wanting to be in a relationship, a low love drive can be a problem. There is good news. Go to RockyMountainMen'sClinic.com and take the low T quiz on their website. It's a simple 10-question quiz with yes and no answers. It only takes 2 minutes. Then schedule a consult with Rocky Mountain Men's Clinic. A Colorado licensed medical provider will review your results with you and discuss your options. Cost of the appointment is only $99, which includes medical consult, T and PSA test. If you sign up for testosterone treatment the day of your appointment, your visit is free. Rocky Mountain Men's Clinic has served the Front Range of Colorado for nearly a decade and successfully treated tens of thousands of men. Call them today at 720-440-7900. That's 720-440-7900, or visit RockyMountainMen'sClinic.com, RockyMountainMen'sClinic.com. We'll get to your calls. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS.
At this hour in Brussels, I'm Alex Cadier. Here are the top stories we're following. The United States has proposed a resolution at the United Nations supporting a temporary ceasefire in Gaza. This comes after it rejected an Algerian proposal demanding an immediate humanitarian ceasefire over concerns it could jeopardize talks between the US, Egypt, Israel, and Qatar. The US draft says a temporary ceasefire would include the release of all hostages and lifting restrictions on the delivery of humanitarian aid as soon as practicable. The proposed resolution says that Israel's planned ground offensive into the city of Rafah should not proceed. Parts of the United States are about to experience a rare natural phenomenon with the simultaneous emergence of 2 broods of cicadas. In New York, Haley Bianco reports.
Cicadas are relatively large insects, measuring 1 to 2 inches long, with sturdy bodies, bulging eyes, and wings. More than 1 trillion of these noisy bugs are set to pop out of the ground between April and June. The 2 broods are concentrated in U.S. Midwestern states and the South. They emerge together only once every 221 years. The 2 broods together span parts of 17 states, as listed on your screen. These 2 broods last emerged in the same year in 1803. The next time is set for 2245.
And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm Alex Cadier in Brussels on Salem News Channel.
All right, coming up at the top of the 9 o'clock hour, Danielle Jurinsky is going to join us. She's an at-large council member for the city of Aurora. If you remember yesterday, we were talking all about how the city of Denver and the state legislators are all trying to figure out where the tens of millions of dollars are going to come from to deal with the illegal immigrant problem, healthcare costs, legal costs, home costs, education costs. And then the city of Aurora is halting support for migrants and homeless to prioritize fiscal responsibility to their citizens. Councilwoman Jurinsky affirmed, we are not going to shut down our rec centers. We are not going to cut our police budget. We have a fiscal responsibility to our citizens, residents, that we have to live within our means. We can't overpromise and underdeliver. The sentiment echoes Aurora's commitment to maintaining essential services and resources for its community while addressing the financial implications of supporting external populations. I mean, Aurora finds itself in this very unique situation, right? It is the most diverse and global city in the state, yet they're led by generally conservative people on the city council and in the mayor's office. And so they are going to prioritize first and foremost their citizens. Is that the right move to make? And you're going to have this experiment play out in cities that are right next door to each other. So the city of Denver, big banner, we heart immigrants. Oh no, we don't have the money to heart immigrants. Too many came. It's like the kegger that the high school kid threw, where he invited his friends and then the whole neighborhood and school showed up and ruined the house. The city of Denver is going to have to deal with really serious issues here. Aurora prioritizing its own citizens, going, if we don't have the money to pay for it, we're not going to provide it. And first come our citizens. So you're going to have this experiment play out, which is just going to be fascinating. So you're going to want to stick around and listen as we host Danielle Jurinsky at the top of the 9 o'clock hour. Hey, if you have not checked out our YouTube page, you can check out and see our smiling faces right here. Bill and I on the 710 KNUS YouTube channel. We're also on Rumble. We got the podcast there and then all the social media. So we clipped a lot of you yesterday, Bill.
Oh, that's bad.
That went viral on social media.
I apologize to everyone that had the unfortunate nature to run across my mug online in social media. I apologize. You also get to see us in Westword today.
Yeah, that's right. Westword is carrying us. Title of that article, nice. Jeff Hunt and Bill Thorpe on politics, faith, and Taylor Swift tied
how did
to
this
new
happen?
KNUS show.
We tell you how this craziness started.
It's an arranged marriage.
It is.
But the guy yesterday who blamed homelessness on Trump went ultra viral.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's blowing up on my Instagram page. So stick around. Danielle Jurinsky is going to be joining us in just a few minutes. You're on the Jeff and Bill show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
9 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning. It's Tuesday, February 20th. The sun is shining, and we have been at it over COVID vaccinations, over whether or not the Tea Party was good for the Republican Party. I think we've had more text messages, more calls than any other show we've ever had. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much.
And good coverage in the Westward. I want to thank Michael Roberts for interviewing both Bill and I about this arranged marriage we got going on here at 710 KNUS. Independents and conservatives having good conversation, but always remaining friends at the end of it.
Yeah.
So,
and Michael will tell you how this craziness started. You want the backstory? You want that director's cut? You want to hear the story about how this thing actually happened? We share the warts there with Michael.
Right. It has to do with Taylor Swift.
It does. You can blame her.
The title of the article, Jeff Hunt and Bill Thorpe on politics, faith, and the Taylor Swift tie to new KNUS show. So check it out at Westward. Thanks again to Michael Roberts. Let's go to Blake Olson with the news. Good morning, Blake.
All right, good morning. Sounds like a good bedtime story for the kids. I can't wait to read it. 46 and sunny in Denver, expecting highs in the low 60s. Should be a great day today. The 710 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story, Springs police arrested 25-year-old Nicholas Jordan Monday. He's accused of killing Samuel Knopp of Parker and Seeley Montgomery of Pueblo in Knopp's dorm room at UCCS. Jordan's court appearance is set for 1:30 today. There was a healing walk on Monday.
I think this was beautiful. It was a beautiful day out. I think that everything we did, laying flowers on the line, is just gorgeous. Everybody just bringing it together is just gorgeous.
More flooding today on the West Coast.
More than 30 million people are under these flood alerts from Northern California to Southern California, including LA, San Francisco, San Diego. And we've got these batches of heavy rain that'll continue to work in through the day today. We'll see that renewed risk of some flash flooding.
An LA woman who's a dual national is being detained in Russia over treason allegations. Allegedly, she raised funds in support of Ukraine while in the U.S., and Russia doesn't like that. Nikki Haley scheduled to give a speech on the state of the presidential race in her home state of South Carolina today. And Monday, Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank supporting President Trump and speaking common sense business, says Trump did not do anything wrong.
When you get a developer that builds a building and he says it's worth $400 million and he wants to borrow $200 million from a bank, which happens every day, everywhere on earth, including every American city, every developer is an entrepreneur. They shine the light on their building and they say it's worth 400. The bank does its own due diligence, as was done in this case, because they're very good at it. The banks are very good. And they say, no, it's worth 300. We're only going to loan you 150 million. That haggling has gone on for decades. That's how it works.
And everyone was happy in the deal except for Trump's political opponents, of course. Avalanche go for 2 straight tonight. They face the Canucks, the Nuggets, and Wizards Thursday night in Lodo. And Will Byron wins the Daytona 500. It's 42 in Arvada, 44 in Parker, 46 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue with the 9 o'clock hour. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Well, now there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts. Talk back to your favorite local hosts.
At the tone, leave a message.
Call the show. Set your alarm. Enter contests and win prizes. All in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today.
Headline coming from the news site The Lobby, which I think is relatively new. I don't know who's behind The Lobby, but they're doing pretty good reporting. Aurora considers halting support for migrants and homeless, prioritizing fiscal responsibility to citizens. The city of Aurora is considering a proposal that would halt endless support of migrants and the homeless unless organizations agree to cover the associated costs. The resolution presented during the City Council's Federal, State, and Intergovernmental Relations Committee meeting underscores Aurora's commitment to, quote, fiscal responsibility and living within its means, unquote, amid the challenges posed by the mostly self-inflicted migrant crisis. I asked Danielle Jurinsky to join us. She's the at-large council member in the city of Aurora. Danielle, thanks so much for being on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Good morning.
So give us a little insight into this resolution, this proposal that you all are putting forth in the city of Aurora.
Sure. So this all came about roughly 2 months ago. We found out that Denver had bused migrants into Aurora, rented hotel rooms in Aurora, an extended stay. And as Mayor Johnson's worst nightmare, the only reason that we found out about this is because one of the families that was living at this extended stay was an employee of mine, and he and his husband and their service dog called me crying and said that they had just been thrown out of what was their home for roughly a year and a half. And they didn't know what to do, and they didn't know where to go, and they were out on the streets. And they're the ones that told me that migrants had been bussed in and were taking over the extended stay. And when he first said that, I thought that he meant Aurora. So I went a little crazy for just a second on the city manager, then realized it was Denver busting them in. I think a tough pill to swallow was that Mayor Kaufman told Mayor Johnson that he could temporarily bus these migrants in and rent some hotels. I will say, in Kaufman's defense, I think he had no idea, that an extended stay is really how some people live. They don't have to put a deposit down. They don't have to pay any bills. They don't have to own any furniture. Someone comes in and cleans their room. So it really is a way of life for some people. So I think Kaufman didn't realize that, people were going to actually be thrown out on the streets. And I think Kaufman took Johnson for his word that he would come back and get these people, that this was temporary. Long story short, Denver never came back to get these people. And so this resolution was born.
Do they continue to pay the bills? Are they still in this extended stay in Aurora?
If any of them are still there, my guess is they've found some cash jobs or something like that, and they're paying for it on their own. Because what we were told was that singles could stay for 14 days, and families could stay for 36 days. And that is what Denver was going to pay for. We are well past both of those time periods.
Has the city of Aurora been dealing with the impact of the migrant crisis? Are you all feeling that in your budgets, in the day-to-day operations of the city, of the experience of your citizens? Are they having to deal with what is happening in Denver personally?
We're not so much feeling it in our budget, and that is the statement that we are really seeking to make with this resolution, is that we're not going to feel it in our budget. I do have folks that reach out to me. They're very concerned. They see the migrants, they're walking around with squeegees at intersections, and they're trying to wash people's windows. I'm hearing stories of migrants, kind of surrounding Home Depot parking lots. And as soon as someone gets out of their car, they're racing over and asking for work. And of course, it's cash jobs they're asking for. And I personally have witnessed what I believe to be prostitution or attempted prostitution from some of the female migrants in a Walmart. So, that's what's going on. We're seeing it as far as that goes. But we are not currently seeing a financial impact.
Interesting. We're talking with Danielle Jurinsky. She's the at-large council member for the city of Aurora. Article that Aurora is considering halting support for migrants and homeless, prioritizing fiscal responsibility first and foremost to its citizens. I think the point I'm trying to get at is that, these are people that obviously don't abide by borders, right? If they did, they wouldn't be in America in the first place. So the idea that they're going to be like, oh, we'll stay in Denver and leave Aurora alone, I don't see that being the case. And so I imagine that your citizens are having to deal with the effects that the decisions of the leadership of the city of Denver are making. And it affected your own employee, like you said.
Oh, sure. It sent me right through the roof. And so that is the statement we're making with this resolution is we know, we can't put up a wall. We can't put up borders on Aurora. Nobody is implying that, except for Dave Perry with the Sentinel. He seems to think that that's what we mean by this resolution, which is totally incompetent. But what this resolution is stating is that if they're going to come in, if you are going to bus migrants in, we want an IGA. We want an intergovernmental agreement. First of all, we want to know who they are and where they're going. Where's this bus going? Second, you need to send money. Denver's cutting all this money, out of their budget. They're shutting down. People are losing their jobs. Well, shuffle some of that money on over here. And, if there's a hotel that Americans are not going to be thrown out of, happy to help. You send the funds.
You seem to be taking a little bit of a different take than the city of Lakewood. Lakewood had its city council meeting recently, and many of the members wore butterfly buttons in support of the migrants. And it's not that you all are anti-migrant. It's that you're going to make sure that the citizens of your city take a priority when it comes to services and funds. Is that right?
That's exactly right. That is exactly right. Look, we all made it to this country somehow, right? We all have roots tying us to somewhere. We have our stories of how our families, came over. Absolutely, we are not anti-migrant. Absolutely, we are not anti-migrant. But we are not going to shut down taxpayer-owned assets, to take care of these migrants. Somebody had better have a plan. And the fact that this is coming down on local municipalities, people are really forgetting where the root cause of this problem is, and that's with the federal government. So instead of showing up and screaming and yelling at these city council meetings, please remember this anger. Remember this anger when you vote in November, because I'm angry too. This is inhumane. These people mostly do not speak English. They're being shuffled from city to city. They don't know where they're at. And if they find some cash jobs here and then they get bused to another city, this is inhumane. This is absolutely inhumane. And we want accountability in Aurora. We want to know who these people are, where the buses are going, who's on the bus, and the funds to follow. That's what we're asking for. We have enough common sense to know that the migrants are going to come into our city, but the ones that are being bused here, other cities need to be held accountable. And at the end of the day, this directly reflects on the federal government and the current situation at the border.
Talking with Danielle Jurinsky, she's an at-large council member for the city of Aurora. They've introduced a resolution presented during the city council's federal, state, and intergovernmental relations committee meeting that underscores Aurora's commitment to fiscal responsibility and living within our means amid the challenges posed by the mostly self-inflicted migrant crisis that's happening in our country. Are you all getting any support from the governor, from the federal government? As you just mentioned, this is a federal government problem. They created in part the city having a giant banner that said "We Heart Immigrants" in 2018 contributed to this as well. But are you getting any support from either the state, Governor Polis, or the federal government to deal with the challenges you're facing?
Well, absolutely not, because at any of those levels in government, they would first have to admit that there's a problem. And they're not going to admit that there's a problem. You listen to the vice president, and she just laughs and laughs. I don't think she even realizes that there's any issues going on at the border. So again, with the accountability piece, someone in government has to stand up and say, this is a true problem. And I just don't know that we're going to see that. Jared Polis has been absent. President Biden, he's been out to lunch for who knows how long. And I don't think anybody's going to acknowledge that this is a really big problem. And, quite frankly, what Jared Polis could do, he refuses to live in the governor's mansion. He wants to live in, his posh, his posh lifestyle up in Boulder. Open up the governor's mansion. Open up the governor's mansion and let all the migrants go in there. It sits empty.
Talking with Council Member Danielle Jurinsky. Danielle, what was the response from your fellow council members to this resolution?
Well, I mean, the majority are supportive. The majority are very supportive. Of course, we're going to have 3 that push back and try to hold some sort of standoff. But the majority are very supportive, and the majority agree that the citizens of Aurora will be put first. We will not shut down, our rec centers, our senior center. We will not shut anything down. And there's nothing coming from our budgets for the migrants. They're supportive. A majority is supportive.
Now, Danielle, I just want to kind of go back to the beginning because I'm still having a hard time hearing this and wrapping my head around it. So you're telling me that the solution that Denver had for their homeless migrant population was to bring them into Aurora and make people homeless.
Well, yeah, because
That's great.
He made this huge promise that if he were to get elected, he was going to house 1,001 homeless. Well, what he meant by that is homeless residents of Denver.
Yep.
So the migrants can't count in those numbers. So you got to bust the migrants out of the city and fill up all the hotels and resources in Denver with the actual Denver homeless so that he could complete his promise. It's all for show. It's all for show. It's all a dog and pony show. It's all, fake promises and it's a joke, really, is what it is.
I can't agree with you more. And like you, I give Mayor Kaufman for some deference on this because I've known him for a long time. And I'm certain, or at least my opinion, that when he got a phone call from the Johnston administration and said, can we house some of these migrants in your hotels? I'm certain that he said, obviously, they're not going to be using the ones where people already live there. That would be stupid. However, he underestimated the stupid. So again, I don't fault him for that one, but it's ridiculous. The solution being the creation of more homeless. And I love the tack that you and the rest of the city council, that I believe are on the right side, are taking, that in these cases, we do have to take care and protect the citizens first. We can open our hearts, open our pocketbooks, our tax money afterwards. We all have empathy. We all have a Christian heart. Well, not all of us. Some of us keep it in a jar on a shelf, as Mike Rosen used to say. But we all have that openness and that empathy. But the idea that we need to, as a society, always put them first when there are others in need, I have a difficulty with that.
I greatly struggle with it. I was elected by the people of Aurora to represent the people of Aurora. Immigration is a federal issue. It is a federal issue. And the federal government needs to deal with it. And if the federal government is faltering, then you see states stepping in. You see Governor Abbott stepping in. Jared Polis is completely silent and completely absent. So this is trickling down to city councils having to talk about dealing with this. We don't even hear a word from Arapahoe County. This is an issue. This is a federal issue that you're skipping accountability for the federal government, the state government, the county government, and you're going straight to your local city councils and screaming and yelling. Sorry, in Aurora, I'm not shutting down the swimming pools for the senior citizens. I'm not doing it. It's not happening.
Danielle Jurinsky, at-large council member for the city of Aurora. All right, so Danielle, there's going to be a real-life experiment that takes place here, and the people on the streets generally know which are favorable cities and counties and which ones are not. City of Denver, we heart immigrants. They're now scrounging around looking for tens of millions of dollars to provide services like legal services, education, healthcare, housing, all of that in the city of Denver. That's not going to happen in the city of Aurora. Game this out for me 6 months, a year from now. What's the difference between those two cities?
Oh, I think you're going to see, I think you'll start to see, our crime rates in Aurora are already ticking downwards. I think you'll see a stark difference in crime. I think you'll see a stark difference in homeless populations. Just clear streets, sidewalks. We enforce our camping ban. I think you are going to see a stark difference. And this is a chance to prove, in this state that Republicans can govern. We don't just stand on the issue of abortion and gay marriage. Republicans can govern. And if you want a safe, clean, livable city, and the thing is, most people, when they find out now that Republicans hold not just a majority, but a super majority in Aurora, they think I'm crazy when I say that. They say, but this is such a blue state. How are you doing it? Well, a nonpartisan race, people are forced to listen to our issues and our ideas. They don't just get to judge us because we have an R next to our name. So what we have accomplished in Aurora and the direction that we are going, you are going to see such a ferocious contrast between Denver and Aurora, and I hope it really wakes some people up in this state.
Danielle Jurinsky, at-large council member for the city of Aurora, text message coming in. God, I love her passion.
If only Danielle could find that emotion and passion to bring, the energy to the fight that she has to do in their city every day. If only she could find that.
I'd love to hear from our callers. What do you think of Danielle Jurinsky and her vision in Aurora? Is it a winning vision? Give us a call, 303-696-1971, or text us on the 710 KNUS app. They're laying out the very reality that there are differences in governing philosophies, and you're going to have a city that one of these two cities is going to be victorious. And I think you're going to see a stark difference in these two cities. City of Denver spending millions of dollars providing services for illegal immigrants, taking services away from taxpayers in order to do that. You saw Mike Johnston talk about the services he's going to cut. City of Aurora prioritizing first and foremost its own citizens, we are not going to cut services for our own citizens. This resolution being led by Councilwoman Danielle Jurinsky. I really appreciate her being on the program. That was just fantastic. Phone lines starting to fill up. Before we get to them, I got to tell you about Empower Home. Eliminate the stress and uncertainty of selling your home while still getting top dollar with Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team with Keller Williams Sell. Their Sell with Certainty program guarantees your home will sell without even having to list it, and at the same time getting you top dollar. Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team guarantees the sale, ensuring a seamless process and eliminating the stress while getting you the best price. Get paid twice with their Sell with Certainty program. Give Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team a call today, 833-301-SOLD. Getting an offer above your home's asking price is great, but you're leaving money on the table by not working with Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team. Gay and her experts get their clients an average of $30,000 more. Could you use an extra $30,000? That's precisely why you need Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team. Their exclusive database is filled with pre-screened buyers ready to make a purchase. Take the stress and hassle out of selling your home while getting the best price. Want to get out of the city of Denver, move to Aurora? Here's an unbeatable offer. Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team will sell your house for 100% more than 100% of the asking price, or Gay will pay you the difference. It's an offer you simply cannot refuse. Get 100% of the asking price guaranteed with Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team. Reach out to my friends and realtors, Gay Ribble and Empower Home team. Call 833-301-SOLD, 833-301-SOLD, or go to gayhasthebuyers.com. That's Gaye hasthebuyers.com. Let's go to Joe, line one. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Joe.
Hi, good morning, guys.
What's up?
This woman picked up a thing that I like to say, Democrats are too empathetic and Republicans aren't empathetic enough. And she hit a good balance of responsibility. We all at the individual level have, I think, compassion and want to see migrants come in and add to our country in a responsible way. But when it turns into a crap show, then it doesn't help anybody. And all it does is just make it harder on the whole thing. But
right. I mean, Joe, at the end of the day, it's a math problem, right? So if you want to provide services to illegal immigrants, there's only so many services you can provide before you have to take away services from existing citizens. And is that fair for a city to do?
Like she said, you do what you can, but at some point you have to say, this is all that we can do. I'm sorry, we can't do anymore. And you have to have, a way to handle that. And that just might be depriving people of these services until they figure out something else or leave.
Yeah, at least from the city, right? And she even says that during her resolution. Look, we're not going to stop nonprofits from serving people. We're not going to go after churches for serving people. If they want to do it, that's fine. But there's got to be a priority level here when it comes to limited funds, and we're going to put citizens first.
There does. And I think it ties back to, if I could jump back a little earlier into the show, to one of the problems with the Republican Party right now, at least for me, is sort of an absolutism that runs through the party across a lot of different subjects, but immigration being one of them. And I have not heard any big program about Republicans investing in what they claim they want, which is legal immigration. You can't process these people if you don't have the resources. And if you're not willing to pay for those resources, don't blow smoke up my telling me that you want legal immigration. That just means you want a problem that you can campaign against, and you're really not interested in fixing the problem or looking out for the people's interest.
Joe, I appreciate the call.
Ooh,
Joe from Denver on Councilwoman Jurinski. Some text messages here. Councilwoman Jurinski is really showing what needs to happen across the state and country. She is certainly making it obvious that conservatives have a place to move to and leave Denver to become the cesspool the libs are so yearning for.
The other thing
I support her 100%.
Sorry, the other thing that's interesting there is, and we highlighted it, is at the end of Danielle's statement that she's running at large. And how does she convince people in what is largely a blue state to click her name or check her name or fill in the bubble on the ballot? And she says, it's odd when she comes to ideas, solutions. That's weird. She's talking about the ideas and the issues. That's what motivates. And I think that's a lesson that should be learned, that maybe if we need to start making headway inside of this blue state, perhaps, just perhaps, we start focusing on the ideas and the issues.
Well, the left is showing that their ideas fail.
Yes.
Danielle Jurinski is an at-large council member in the city of Aurora. What do you think of her interview? The lobby has an article out. Aurora considers halting support for migrants and homeless, prioritizing fiscal responsibility first and foremost to its citizens. Give us a call, 303-696-1971. Hey, gentlemen, if you're losing your hair and you need a simple solution that works, you want the best. Modern technology with top-rated physicians, something that's guaranteed to work. Guys, you need Dr. Tanya Pauls and her team at Advanced Hair. They've completely redefined hair restoration, from the experience itself to their unmatched results. Receding hairline, bald spot, or thinning hair, address them all with Advanced Hair's simple one-day treatment in a calm, relaxed environment with the most experienced professionals. Advanced Hair has performed tens of thousands of these breakthrough treatments. And get this, your own natural hair begins to regrow the very next day. No one in Denver can offer anything like the advanced FUE found in Advanced Hair, and I highly recommend their team. It starts with your free consultation. Call 720-459-HAIR. If you qualify, you'll also get $250 off and 250 free hair grafts. Refine your hairline with the team that's redefined hair restoration. 720-459-HAIR or advancedhair.com. That's advancedhair.com. We'll get to your text messages and phone calls. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS.
All right. Did you?
This is not fair. This song should play on Fridays. This is not fair.
That's true.
Yeah,
The Cure.
not fair at all.
Friday, I'm in love.
Yeah, so I think that means we don't show up tomorrow, isn't it? Isn't that the rule? We play this, the next day it's the weekend. I'm just suggesting things. I'm an AD guy here. You know how it is.
All right. The lobby reporting Colorado implements ban on gas-powered lawn equipment for state agencies during the summer months in a move that has sparked debate and divided opinion. The Colorado Air Quality Control Commission has adopted a new rule that will prohibit state agencies from using specific gas-powered lawn equipment during the summer months. The regulation set to take effect from June to August targets gas-powered lawn equipment with engines of 25 horsepower or less, aiming to curb emissions and improve air quality in the region. Under the new rule, state agencies operating within the Denver Metro and North Front Range ozone non-attainment area, gosh, communists have a name for everything, don't they, will also be restricted from using gas-powered push lawnmowers and other lawn equipment with engines under 10 horsepower on public property. This geographical area encompasses the Denver metro area and stretches northward through Lamar and Weld counties, reflecting the commission's commitment to addressing air quality concerns in high-impact zones. Democrats implemented these restrictions following the recommendations of the CoPIRG Foundation. It looks like CoPIG.
It does.
But there's a little R in there. CoPIRG Foundation.
Jeff, just between you and me, it's okay if you call him Copig in your head. 'Cause that's what I did. I'm just saying it's okay. Just between you and me. All right, continue.
Nonprofit organization that highlighted the significant environmental impact of gas-powered lawnmowers and related equipment. CoPIRG, I was looking them up, was formed by Ralph Nader. So thank you, Ralph Nader, for shaping how our
unsafe at any
state agencies operate with their gas-powered. So what do you think of this? This isn't quite a ban on personal use, although I think that's coming next. But at least the agencies are saying, the Denver metro agencies on public property, no gas-powered. Democrats making it a point late last week to not go after people involved in child sex trafficking. You can get probation for that, but we're going to make sure that state agencies ban all of these gas-powered cars or lawnmowers. Climate change is like a religion for them. It's like the most important religion to them.
Yeah, I agree that in many ways. And this, for me, this highlights the sheer stupidity and the self-righteousness of people involved, both on the left and in the climate change debate. I know that, Jeff, that you and I come to different conclusions on the idea of climate change, and I'll get the phone. Hang on a second. I'm going to talk to the phone for a second.
Yeah, phones are blowing up. Frank will go to you in just a second.
Yeah, I'll get to that line in a sec. And what I wanted to say was the issue I have is the mandate.
Yeah.
Because if I have mowed my share of lawns, I've mowed my share of large lawns, and I understand the constraints with rechargeable batteries and having them, the public works groups, have to use them for long strips and for parks. To me, it is completely impractical, only because of the amount of time that the green or EV mowers and blowers run. It is phenomenally inefficient. Now, my solution, now again, you understand, a little weird, I'm a little different. My solution to this would be to pay the crews, because a lot of these crews are subcontracted. Some are city, but some are subcontracted. The crews that work with the EVs, I pay them more. There's your incentive. You want to make the switch, you want to make the change, I will pay you X. Yep, I'll pay you X for internal combustion. I will pay you Y if you come in with EVs. Now, you can make that choice. You have the ability, whatever works best for you, you tell me. But if I'm going to incentivize you, rather than making a rule and forcing you to change, let's make an incentive. Let's give them a choice.
And if you think this is just staying with state agencies, you clearly don't know how government works. Frank, I want to get to you in just a second, but I want to talk to you about my friend Dan Kaplis and Dan Kaplis Law. Dan suggests that you should choose a lawyer who shares your values because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says a lot about you to everyone involved in the case. Dan Kaplis is the son of a police officer. Dan is also a former seminarian. I'm a seminarian. Dan has also dedicated the last 40 years of his life to helping people who are hurt in serious motor vehicle crashes. Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. Dan Caplis Law is the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. Dan Caplis Law is a serious firm for serious cases. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. If you need Dan's help, call 303-770-5551 or hit dancaplisLaw.com. That's Dan, CAPLIS law.com. If I was ever in trouble, Dan would be the first person I would call personally. Let's go to Frank. Line 1, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Frank.
Hey, when you give a bureaucrat a clipboard, he's dangerous enough. But then if you give a bureaucrat who happens to be a Democrat, left-leaning, and operating only on a recent article that he read and a belief about climate change and the dangerousness of it, then he becomes a real danger. So we may take a constitutional amendment, but I think I'd like all the names of all the Democratic legislatures that pass these kind of laws be attached so that they can be sued in the future by the poor little folks. Think about all the little guys out there today with lawn equipment trying to make a living, to cut our lawns, and all of a sudden you can't do it anymore. What's he going to do to make a living? Have to go on the government dole? I mean, these people do not think. And I think they should be called out for that, but their names should be attached so that they tremble in their boots for a future retribution suit by people whose lives they destroyed.
Yeah, I do. I mean, Frank, I think they're primarily thinking about climate change. It's like a religion to them. I mean, you see some of these guys arrested, right? They sit in front of cars. They throw paint on famous paintings. They believe they're like the religious guy with the end is near sign out on the street corner. They genuinely believe that the world is about to destruct. And if you use a gas mower, you're just contributing to that destruction. Frank, I appreciate
doesn't give them the right to interfere with another.
I agree with you.
To make a living.
I agree with you, but for them, it's a religion that needs to be pushed. They're passionate evangelists. Frank, I appreciate the call. Thanks so much. Let's go to David, line 2. By the way, Frank's line is open 303-696-1971. State agencies in the Denver metro area, all the way up to Weld County. No more lawnmowers. Banned from gas lawnmowers. You're going to have to use electric or get out there with scissors.
And then the planet's saved. Is that it? Is that it?
Exactly.
Is we do the electric lawnmowers and the planet's saved, and then we can all go back and no more sunscreen. We can run around mostly naked. Is that it? Because I'm curious.
David, line 2. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, David.
Well, did you all ever read the story about the boy that cried wolf?
Yeah.
Yeah, familiar.
So you're pretending that to be a scientist and to acknowledge science is communism. You friggin' liars, man. A single stroke engine, lawnmowers are a single stroke engine. They're the most polluting engines that there are. Mm-hmm. And it's about time that Denver and Weld County got around to claiming this issue, because that for 50, 70 years, they could have had better quality engines. And they've refused to. And you're going to pretend that it's communism to continue to use, or to finally get around to stop using a dirty engine.
Now, David, you are right. You are right that the two-stroke engines are dirty. What do you think the overall impact is if you had to gauge all of the climate change gases and everything we're supposed to be afraid of? What percentage of that is from those engines?
Couldn't tell you offhand, but
do you think that would be important? Do you think that would be important to the conversation?
It all adds up.
But is it? That's not what I asked. David, no, David, come back to my question, please.
Oh,
isn't that important?
Okay. How about the amount of gasoline that the county has had to waste because
Hey, David, with respect, you called into the show. We can mute this conversation at any point in time. I'm trying to be fair here, and I'm just having conversation with you. And you said that it's time that we get rid of these dirty, horrible, polluting engines. And I'm asking you a question about how significant that change is. And here's why. If the change isn't necessarily going to be significant on the amount of gases that we are putting into our atmosphere, I disagree with the government mandate. I agree with you on the fact that we should get rid of them, but I disagree with the mandate. I think an incentive is a better solution. You're mad just because you're like, it's about darn time. I'm talking to you about the solutions. Is the choice necessarily going to be effective? So please, doesn't it matter as far as the percentage of the gases that those two-stroke engines release to talk about whether or not it's significant and whether or not we should make this change and make it a mandate? What do you think?
There are so many different innuendos you're laying in there, but the biggest deal is that the county should have upgraded years ago, and the fact that they're going to waste, if they were to continue to do this, the cheaper quality engines, they're going to have to pay higher in maintenance. They're going to have to pay more for gas. And it's finally good that they're getting around to going to upgrading, because it's our tax dollars. And when you're pretending that to outsource the job to a polluter, the county still has to take the liability.
David, I got a question. Do you think that these bans should extend to private use?
Any dumbass that wants to use a dumbass engine is a fool. And if they get around
should the government ban them for private use?
It's like if you're on a mountaintop and you're going to have to drag an engine up to the top of that mountaintop just to
David, it's a yes or no question. It's a yes or no question. Should the government ban private use of gas-powered push lawnmowers?
Well, market forces would take care of that, right?
Okay.
Right?
So you're not going to answer my question. No, yes or no. Market forces.
Yeah, well, isn't that your religion, market forces? That if a purchaser, like if a county is a major purchaser and they stop buying them, then the parts are going to get more expensive.
David, I appreciate the call. Thanks. I think my point being that this isn't going to stop with counties. It's one thing for state agencies operating in the Denver Metro North Front Range to ban these. But as I think we pointed out with our caller, David, they ain't going to stop there, my friends.
No, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Now, you and I have vastly different living conditions, I will say. I am inside of the city, and you're outside in the country. And you have got the, we will call the palatial Hunt Manse, an estate with all its grounds.
I've got a nice diesel mower, man. I got a nice diesel. I got 11 acres to mow.
And that's what I want to ask you about, the idea functionally of going to an EV, because we did in my family. We went to an EV lawnmower, but I'm mowing a postage stamp compared to what you are. And the reason we went to the EV, in my opinion, is because it was easier. I was
quieter.
Yeah,
quite quieter.
It was much quieter, but I was tired of partially taking apart the engine and cleaning carburetors and going through spark plugs every single season. My wife knew that was the one reason that I delayed starting mowing the grass each and every season. So she solved it by doing, hey, happy Father's Day,
I got
EV.
no problem with that.
And so it works for me.
I bet it's great.
But for you, I can't imagine you trying to mow your lawn.
You have so much other
EV.
stuff to deal with. So you got big fields. You got we've got to grate the road. So you're pulling really heavy graders behind to get the road leveled out. You actually have to plow your own driveway, like with snow. So, it's just not going to work.
But even then, let's just talk about like a 2-hour, a 2-hour battery life on an EV. That wouldn't get the mowing done that you need. You would be dead, and you'd have to go charge and wait for a number of hours to go back and finish your chore.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
That is so stupid to expect anybody in your situation, or anybody that's mowing large tracts or working on the greenery or the parks in our cities, to go with EVs. It just functionally is moronic.
Yep.
I can't believe it.
Wouldn't work at all. Hey, imagine effortlessly gliding open your cabinets and drawers to reveal neatly arranged shelves that showcase your belongings. With roll-em-out shelves, you'll easily access your pots, pans, and other essentials, eliminating chaos and increasing speed and functionality in your home. Roll-em-out shelves understands that every home storage needs are unique. Whether you're dealing with tight corners or expansive cabinets, your shelves will be custom built to maximize every inch of available space. Joyce and Brent Tolliver, the mom and son dynamic duo, leaves satisfied customers wherever they go, and they're all 5-star reviews confirm it. Here's what some of their overjoyed customers have said. Life-changing, so much wasted space in our kitchen cabinets. My space has literally tripled, and I'm so happy. Joyce and Brent listened to our needs, stayed on schedule, and found solutions to our specific problems. We're so happy with our kitchen that now we are planning to do our bathroom as well. Begin the affordable transformation in your home for less than $1,000 when Roll-em-out Shelves efficiently organizes your space with sturdy Baltic birch shelves built right here in Colorado and guaranteed for life. Call for your free in-home estimate today, 303-475-9601. That's 303-475-9601 or rollemoutshelves.com. Tell them Jeff sent you. rollemoutshelves.com. We'll take your calls and more. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour in Brussels, I'm Alex Cadier. Here are the top stories we're following. Parts of the United States are about to experience a rare natural phenomenon with the simultaneous emergence of 2 broods of cicadas. In New York, Haley Bianco reports.
Cicadas are relatively large insects, measuring 1 to 2 inches long with sturdy bodies, bulging eyes, and wings. More than 1 trillion of these noisy bugs are set to pop out of the ground between April and June. The 2 broods are concentrated in U.S. Midwestern states and the South. They emerge together only once every 221 years. The 2 broods together span parts of 17 states as listed on your screen. These 2 broods last emerged in the same year in 1803. The next time is set for 2245.
The United States has proposed a resolution at the United Nations supporting a temporary ceasefire in Gaza. This comes after it rejected an Algerian proposal demanding an immediate humanitarian ceasefire over concerns it could jeopardize talks between the U.S., Egypt, Israel, and Qatar. The U.S. draft says a temporary ceasefire would include the release of all hostages and lifting restrictions on the delivery of humanitarian aid as soon as practicable. The proposed resolution says that Israel's planned ground offensive into the city of Rafah should not proceed. And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm Alex Cadier in Brussels on Salem News Channel.
Well, it's been a wild show. I want to thank David for calling in. We got a lot of good text messages. Hey,
call back, man. That was fantastic.
One of the text messages is Fred Flintstone pushing the little bird that's eating.
Oh, I like that. I'd do that. I'm a snake guy. If they did grass, I'd have them outside.
We should do this. We should have a special line for the libs, like Charlie Kirk does at his events. Ben Shapiro too. If you're liberal, you get to go to the front of the line.
We should think about that on the execution.
If you're liberal and want to call us, we'll always have a fun conversation.
Yeah, it's a good idea. Oh yeah, we'll always listen to you. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, tomorrow we're going to host the Wall Street Journal reporter Elizabeth Findell. She did a big article on Lauren Boebert in the Journal. You're not going to want to miss it. Stick around. Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.